Hey everybody, welcome back to another all-new X's for Show. You can find us, clearing our thread evidently, at X's for Show on all of your social media. That's X's for Show. As for me, you can find me living this one down all over social media at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And man, am I excited to ink with you guys.
And you can find me complaining online about how there are no manners when it comes to Turf War, because I'll be playing it all day long. I'm TK, and you can find me at TK Elemental.
And that makes me Kevo, and you can find me on the socials, probably being very confused, as I'm sure I'll be on a lot of this subject, at Kevo Really, that's KEVOREALLY. And guys, I think we have a big question, our big show question to start the broadcast. What do we got?
What was your kid game? Like, what was your outside playing, having a good time, being a goofball kind of game?
Neighborhood group type game.
I was lucky. Not only did I have a strong community because we initially grew up in like an apartment complex, like garden apartments. So there was always like a lot of other kids to play with. But then when we moved 2 blocks away to our house, there was still a lot of community. And then I was in the Boy Scouts, and we played like Red Rover and a lot of red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. Even like at 15 years old. So pretty much, I'm gonna say red light, green light, 1, 2, 3 will always have my jam.
I was a capture the flag boy. I ended up at 2 entirely separate elementary schools in which capture the flag ended up being a huge part of the thing. They were schools with like big campuses with a bunch of different buildings, and capture the flag was always like more than just one side or the other side. It was like there were war zones, and
We had an annual capture the flag tournament in my family called
Yeah.
Ultimate Flag Wars.
yeah. And is that where you have flags on you? As it's kind of like flag football where you have the flags on you as well?
And you could hide them,
Yeah.
and like my whole family got in on it. People could run as far down as the end of the street.
So that all the way, and that will feed into what we're talking about in just a second.
And similar vibes for the town that I grew up in. I don't know if it was the same name and style everywhere, but I feel like the big one was referred to as Manhunt, and it was essentially, like tag, but way bigger than one person's lawn, usually sprawled out across a whole neighborhood, with far more intensive allowances for hiding than there would normally be in your regular standard game of tag. And so, yeah, I think a similar vibe, a lot of community chase games going on around here.
Can I just tell you guys though, the special kind of faggot I was, that like sometimes people would be like, "You ready to play Manhunt?" And I would be like, "Can I just write a theme song?" And like I would just sit off in the corner. I'd be like, "No, guys, go play. I'm good. I'm just gonna observe and write." And like I guess I was creepy as a 7-year-old.
Yeah, you
So
just didn't like
I
running.
think writing the soundtrack to your school's Manhunt game is a valuable. It's like I was saying the other day. Like, we should have fanfare in life. There should
Yeah.
be, you should have a music cue when you walk into rooms.
I just want to be Tifa after I finish fighting the Turks in the chapel, and I just want and you have to wonder where it's coming from.
That's such a good moment.
It might-
That's not a Mario theme? I thought that was a Mario thing.
No,
No,
that's
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 I
Final
believe you.
Fantasy fanfare. It's a
Mhm.
specific series of notes, and there's like variations on it throughout all of the games. Like 8 goes, it's there's like little changes, but you know
It's
what?
very country.
You know what? There is plenty of Final Fantasy country crossover. Some of the score to 9, and even some of the score to 10 has tinges of country to it. But that's as country as I get.
But we'll talk about that another episode.
Because I think we're actually talking about a different game that's all kinds of like music and fashion and the end of the world.
all of
And
those things.
I'm so excited because this is one that I had to be dragged into kicking and screaming. And once I got there, I really, really mostly like it.
I give you a lot of credit. You did not have to be drag kicking and screaming, but I did explain that I was going to be doing this, and you could join me or not.
Or die.
But it was going to take up a lot of my time one way or the other. So you could spend that time with me, or you could leave me to my own devices. And so off the bat, for both of you, that is my first question. What was your impression of Splatoon before I showed up in your lives and wouldn't stop talking about it?
I just want to say, I had an amazing experience, right? About 2 years before I met TK, I had the incredible opportunity to go see Carly Rae Jepsen at the New England States Fair. I'm a really big States Fair guy. Like I'm a big event kind of person. And Kevo and I went with the incredible JoJo, Jonah, of course, co-creator of the show and world's best boyfriend. And along with this guy, I didn't mean to be insulting. I was meant to be, incredibly
such an idiot.
complimentary. I gotta go. But we went to the States Fair, and they actually had like the Nintendo Experience exhibition, and we stepped into these amazingly luxurious air-conditioned trailers.
Yup.
And I'd had so much maple syrup that it changed my life because I'd never had like fresh maple syrup before.
And your
And they were-
body.
Oh my god, yeah. And so we go inside, and I'm like, I want these prizes. How do you get them? And they're like, you have to play Splatoon. And I was like, no, you can fuck yourself. How do I get the
What
prizes?
is that?
And they were like, no, you have to play this game. And I was like, fine. And so like we played alongside another amazing couple that we love so much, and everybody got prizes. And I played Splatoon, and then afterward, I started to be like, oh yeah, no, I've played Splatoon. Yeah, I've played Splatoon. I played it once for 3 minutes.
Before the pandemic.
And that was my whole relationship with Splatoon.
Yeah. I found it very confusing. Interesting, though. I was really fascinated by the gameplay and the style, and I felt like the mess nature of it was something that has such mass appeal. And then I never really, thought about it much after that. COVIDs and whatnot. And then all of a sudden we meet you, and I'm hearing about this Splatty all the time. And I'm like, Nico, you can't say that in front of your parents. But it turns out he can.
Oh, yeah.
It turns out he can.
Now, TK, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Right? What got you to the Inklings, to the Octo Kids, to the big man and small fries of it?
Yeah.
So I did not enjoy the first one, unfortunately, and I really wish that I had tried harder. I think I really was disappointed in the Wii U as a whole, and we had some friends who bought it, and we all tried to play, and immediately right off the bat, we realized there was no 4-player local co-op. So we had this whole day where they were like, we got Splatoon, it's 4 players. There's
no
4 of
foreplay.
us, let's hang. And that was totally a no-go, and I was completely confused. And so, kind of gave up on it. And between Splatoon and the Wii U and the Switch, I started to get really into esports. And a big part of that was I was dating a guy who played Overwatch and discovered competitive Overwatch and what was happening there. I was always aware that League of Legends was happening, but not a big MOBA guy. So, very much got into Overwatch, was very impressed with the competitive league and nature of Overwatch, but took too much skill for me and was a little bit too serious. And I ended up, for the Switch, getting into this game called ARMS, which is a 2-player fighting game that it was the earliest online multiplayer game for the Switch, right when it came out. I think it was a at launch release or immediately after launch release. And it was a new IP for Nintendo. It had an amazing style, fantastic music, and I played a ton and then discovered online competitive leagues. And so that really got me into a place where I was really into online and competitive Nintendo stuff. I discovered the huge Smash Brothers competitive world, which is
Shout out to Jonah.
Shout out to Jonah. Shout out to so many amazing queer men, because that is a sport of choice for our people.
They heard that there's a game called Smash Bros, and they were like,
this is perfect for me. This is my destiny.
this is
And they got here and we're like, oh,
It's
This is
okay.
my Wii U hole. So
but yeah, there's competitive Smash for every version of the game, and there's still competitive Smash for Nintendo 64. So I was just like got really fascinated by the competitive scene for Nintendo stuff, and I discovered there was a new Splatoon game coming out that it had had its own sort of competitive league stuff starting to form, and that this game was gonna take on that mantle. So at that point I was buying anything that came out for the Switch. I was just so in love with this system, and still am. It's just so cool. And I bought Splatoon 2. I made my avatar, and I was immediately just like hooked on this world, hooked on this universe that Nintendo has created. So that is my very long-winded monologue about me and Splatoon.
I wish
How
it was
long
actually. Yeah, but I say I wish it had been long-winded. It would have made me feel better about how
Can you
long-winded
ramble
I
more?
talked about not being into it.
Mm.
Um, so the thing I want to start with when we
Yeah.
talk about a game like Splatoon is the nature of Splatoon's gameplay is something that I kind of find fascinating, because when I think about esports, I think about a lot of my friends who have like esport leagues. And, when you think about an esport league, it's sort of like a club in that, there's like a responsibility to one another. You're part of like a Vulcan mind meld of, playthrough. Something that happens with, Splatoon, now that I played Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3, both for over 100 hours. So I feel like I can kind of claim something. I mean, you might see the same name once in a while, but there's no community. Now, that was something that you kind of sold me with, actually, that you were kind of like, listen, and if you suck, it's not Comicsgate. No one's going to send you empty boxes just to let you know they know where you live. It's not like that. So, that's actually one of the things that pulls me into Splatoon, that I don't feel like I'm letting down because I'm not great. I love it, but I'm not great. I'm fine. I'm not saying I'm bad. I'm not coming for myself. No, I'm big strong bear, big strong bear. Lots of ink. I just ink on everything.
Oh yeah.
But like, I'm not the best at everything I do, and this is one of those things that I probably fall below first place. And so, my question for you becomes: how does that affect being a member of this game?
I get to be in a really cool place because I am part of the community that does exist that you really have to buy into. You have to go seek it out online. God love Nintendo, but they just don't really seem to want to support the online communities for their games. They don't really want to be involved with the leagues. They make communication very difficult. Again, I go to Overwatch. If you have a great playthrough in casual mode in Overwatch with a team member, you can immediately find and get in touch with that person and write them a note and say, hey, we had great play style. Would you want to, be friends and tackle this together? With Splatoon, you can friend someone, but there's basically no way to get a message to them. And there's certainly no way to directly get a message to them that's like, hey, we have a great play style together. So you really have to go, into Discord, onto Reddit, onto Twitter, find people, and then start playing together with them that way. Now, Nico, what you point out is something really true and amazing, which is that if you just want to crack open the game and play casual mode, you really will probably never encounter the same person, twice, in a one day after the other. You might encounter them again, but it'll have happened so long ago you'll have forgotten who they are. You won't be wrecking anybody's buzz, and there's a really distinct difference between competitive and casual modes. So what it has meant is that I can always play and love this game casually, but whenever I want to engage in a more competitive play style and really try and improve myself, there is such a wealth of community there to, provide.
Now, Kevo, when I think about what you're not drawn to as much with esports, I think a lot of it is the nature of the flip the table when you lose kind of thing. How do you
Yep.
feel about, essentially an esport where when you disconnect, you're kind of gone forever?
Um, Yeah, that does add an interesting element to it. I feel like that takes some of the competitive edge off in terms of you ain't got bragging rights if no one remembers who you are. So that's definitely an interesting element. What?
Sorry, I had to unmute
Oh,
myself. So,
it's like, what's the
TK,
face?
I think we prepared some slides if you want to share.
Yes,
Hell
please.
yeah. Let's get into it.
So, I mean, right off the bat, one of the things people love to say about Splatoon is that it is the first Nintendo IP since Pikmin, which was in 2001. Now, depending on how you look at it, this is kind of true, and it all sort of stems from how you think about Nintendo IPs. Of course, between 2001 and 2015, Nintendo did develop other stuff, but it was almost always in conjunction with other studios that were not Nintendo, specific, that could contract with other organizations. Splatoon was really the first time that it was all done in-house. And we'll get into that a little bit more later, but May 2015, Wii U, those sales numbers are not pretty, but also not really surprising. I think the Wii U, we just kind of never got. Did you guys have a Wii U?
No, that was the
Yeah.
one we skipped.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one so many people skipped.
And there you go.
So, this game comes out, it develops a solid fan base. And, the really fascinating thing about Splatoon is it has this online multiplayer culture and community, including regular events. And with the past two games, and we assume with this one, you get to a point where they basically stop doing the events. And it's kind of the wrap up of the game. Now, of course, the game still exists. You can still play online, but there's not going to be any new content released. There's not going to be any more events. And there's usually this very fascinating plot-based, like the final Splatfest sort of tells you something about where things stand in the world of Splatoon. And from there, Splatoon shuts down. Really not. It was like less than a year before Splatoon 2 comes out. But Splatoon 2 comes out really strong. I think it was just the absolute best mix of the console doing so well, the game really getting notoriety for doing better, fixing the bugs of the first one. And again, I point to, like, was this ever a consideration for you guys that you might pick this up for your Switch?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think part of it is that it didn't seem to appeal to me on a couple of levels.
Yeah.
There's a juvenilia to it that doesn't appeal to me in my games.
Yeah.
Like, I tend to skip the Final Fantasies that look chibi and cute. I like,
So no 15 Pocket Edition for you?
Actually, maybe 15 Pocket Edition for me because I've played 15 now. So, like, then maybe.
But even then, yeah, not initially is what you're
Right.
saying, too.
And seeing the steep sales incline on this is pretty incredible. To see that the first one sold 5 million in, like, I'm going to assume in a life cycle of about 3 years that there was a little bit of sales after the second one came out.
Yeah.
To see that the second one did 10 million in 3 years and that the third one has done 10 million in 1 year.
Less
Yeah.
than there. Yeah. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, I think it really gets into some questions I have about the world of IP development, particularly for a brand like Nintendo, where I feel like a lot of us, especially in America, where Nintendo isn't the same given that it kind of is in Japan, and we all love Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, the big name IPs from Zelda or from Nintendo, but we're always kind of on the fence about what we want to do with the hardware. And this is the first time that I have really seen and paid attention to the growing of an IP for this company from, people saying that obviously it's a failure. It didn't barely sold anything to Splatoon 2. I think people thought that's fine. It's not crazy impressive for the company that produced Breath of the Wild. And then we get to this third one, and it's kind of gobsmacking.
Now, I think part of what makes it such a unique thing is that it's not just, I mean, and there is no video game that is just anything.
Yeah.
The games that you can insult that way accurately, and I just say insult that way accurately because, like, you know, whatever, not every
the
game
army
is...
of people it takes to produce a video game,
Right.
the amount of work and intelligence and development.
You know,
At
so
every
few
level.
games... Exactly. At every level. So
Yeah.
few games you can ever... It's just this thing. The only games I feel that you can really boil that down to are like jokes. They're the games that, like, you know, when they come out, the reviews are bad.
Yeah.
And say, this is the Gollum game. And that's not me saying that games are so bad they're like Gollum. That's me saying that the worst reviewed game of the last 5 years is Gollum, a prequel to Lord of the Rings. That it was like the most it was like seriously one of the most hyped games for a million. Anyway,
And that was the problem, was the hype. But yeah.
So when we talk about this game, it's so deep. There's so much lore, but I think it really goes back to like the original creation, and the development of the game. This wasn't an accident, right? Like this was such a designed idea.
Yeah. And, you know, Nintendo is very careful. They do want to develop new IP. I mean, if we look at what's going on with Mario now, their original IP that is just getting its, or their original big IP, I should say, that's just getting its first real successful film, like where they're really putting in the effort. They're in this for the long haul, no matter what. And they definitely have seen some failures, but if we want to go to the next slide, they really put together a phenomenal team for this. This is from left to right. It's Toru Minagishi, who did the music for the game, Shintaro Sato, who was the lead programmer and a director, Seito Inoue, who was the art director, Yusuke Amano, who was the director of Splatoon 1 and 2, and then Hisashi Nogami, who is the producer of the game and kind of basically the leader of the team. And these were really the big names in Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development Production Group number 2. Now, Nintendo has at various times had like more than 10 of these production groups, and they restructure a lot. They'll actually restructure amidst the production of the second Splatoon game. So they will go on to be Nintendo Entertainment Planning and Development Production Group number 5. But these groups usually get a couple of titles. In this case, the big ones for these guys are Animal Crossing and Splatoon. Other, you know, ARMS, which is another game I mentioned, is Kosuke Yabuki, who does ARMS and Mario Kart. It's just such a fascinating way to do things, because you get these groups that are so recognizable for the people involved and the kind of work that they produce, but it's not even necessarily like a stylistic flair. It is, you come to expect a quality of work from them. And that Animal Crossing and Splatoon are kind of two of the lowest key recognized Nintendo properties, but have had such a following and created such a community around them. I think just really speaks to what this group has made.
And just to jump in on that, you know, when you talk about things that have something in common, you know, sometimes we talk about how like TV creators can't get out of the same modality, but like hearing that it's Animal Crossing and Splatoon, that it's the village and the city.
Yeah.
This idea of duality, this comprehensive exploration of the notion of world that we see in such a small scale on something like Smash Brothers, where the stages reflect micro versus macro understanding, that this is variance on the same level of understanding actually speaks to a dexterity of ability for these creators. And I think it's even like, it's so great that you said that it's Animal Crossing too, because now when I'm looking at these rabbits, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see where like this creative team started one where and they wound up another where.
And Hisashi Nogami started with Nintendo in 1995 with some character design in Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. And his credits, I mean, so many games that we love, Mario Kart 64, Banjo and Kazooie, every Animal Crossing game. And I love looking up the creators of any game from Nintendo I love, because their credits will always shock you. When I first heard the music from Splatoon, I was certain that it must be the same person who did the music from ARMS, because there's like a spice to it, a worldliness, like a recognition of other styles of music. And of course it's not. It's two totally different people, but the drive to do whatever it takes to make the right music for the property that you're doing is something that is common in all Nintendo properties, and that you see these really great creators do. So, Nico, I love what you said about like the village and the city. These two games that are so much about inhabiting the world and being a person in it. Like in Animal Crossing, it's about like home design and, designing your island and laying it out. And in Splatoon, although there's a much more playable aspect to the game, the fact that so much of it is about creating your character, focusing on their fashion, focusing on their loadout for how they play, and then like going throughout this city and playing around in it, going to all the different shops and everything. They're about living in the world, not just playing in it.
Now, like these concept creations that it ultimately ended on squids, I think is kind of interesting, because I maybe don't get the whole, like, I even love these games. I still don't get the squid thing, but that it's squids, octopi. There's something really interesting about the idea of like ocean at the end of the world kind of vibes, and it all kind of ties into the post-apocalyptic stuff. But more than that, even, I think it supports the different game modes.
Yeah. It's so funny. Anytime you like look up a Nintendo game, you will probably find a phase at which it was going to be a Mario game. So, this tofu block shooter, they talk about how they were originally putting Mario character faces on them and looking at making this a Mario game. And the way they talk about the next phase was that rabbits are very territorial. So it made sense that if it was about holding territory and taking territory, it would be rabbits. And I just want to pause here and admire this aesthetic, the rabbit aesthetic, because it's unused. It's not coming up again, but I think it is so cool, and like already just speaks to how good this game is going to be.
I love in the beginning rabbits.
Plinky, plinky, plink.
Kevo, as an artist, how do the rabbits speak to you?
I can see where what ended up being used grew out of this style. And I also think rabbits would have been an interesting aesthetic to go for. I think it's something you see used as a base in a lot of different stuff. Bugs Bunny, the original Simpsons groaning designs were all rabbit-like. So I definitely see where it would have been an interesting aesthetic, the hopping around. And I love this one specifically with the different highlight and accent colors.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of Evolutions.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But, in thinking about what the gameplay ended up being, I definitely think Squids was also a smart direction for them to explore. This almost looks like early SpongeBob concept art, the way these characters look. You know what I mean?
It's really funny that early on, with the exception of like the 3D models that you see, a lot of this really has a cartoon aesthetic to it.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I love that you brought up The Simpsons, because that was something that I thought about as well. And it's just, I love that the game that they ended up producing, even though it's very, it's focused on kids, has a very youthful appeal to it. It never feels cartoony. Uh, it's even, there's even a manga for it. I'm hoping one day they'll do an anime, but the vibe that they developed never feels like it's specifically a cartoon. And it's the same thing that's happened with Mario, where Mario never felt cartoonish either, and they've really gone all the way back around to create the cartoon that we, the animated film that we now have, that is not cartoonish but is rather animated.
It's funny because, like, as we're talking about it, I would probably be compelled to do like almost like a must-see TV 90s sitcom style take on this for a TV show, where it's all very mundane, real people that just live in this world. And like, as they're walking, like when it's, it would be Phoebe and Rachel walking outside and talking casually. Instead, they're shooting people full of ink because, like, that's this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, again, that goes to the thing I'm going to repeat so many times, which is like, they created such a world worth being in that even though being in it is like a tertiary part of the game, it's literally walking to the shop that you want to go to buy gear. It's walking to the stand that you go to play table turf, or walking into the office that is where you go for salmon run. All of those things you can just, pull up menus and directly go to. But there's something that feels really satisfying about like being your character going from place to place, even though that's not really, doesn't change anything about the gameplay. And I think, if they were ever to do a cartoon, that is exactly what you would want to do, like show this world. And to the not really sure why it's squids thing, so they start as rabbits, because rabbits are very territorial, but then the developers have this same question of like, okay, well, why are they using ink? And their conclusion is, well, squids have ink, so rabbits, we can't come up with a good justification for why rabbits are using ink, but we can do it for squids, so squids it is, and thus we get, the design that we get.
And it's one of those things where, like, as much as I love, Mario, I got to be honest, mushrooms are an aesthetic.
Yeah.
Flying dinosaurs in multiple colors are an aesthetic. It's not like you enter a 4-color comic prehistoric world where Jack Kirby-saurus needs to find, Tyrannosaurus Stan. Like, it's not that that's part of the game. In Mario, mushrooms are an aesthetic choice. In the gameplay modes of Splatoon, the inking is like literally the functional part of the game.
Yeah. That
these characters are squids and become like swimmy people. It's literally the driving force of the game engine.
Yeah. And so, as you can see with kind of the third development part, they start off as, Nintendo develops from the rabbits into very humanoid squids. And at that time, they were just going to be that. The advent of the characters as like fully squid-like and able to switch back and forth into a kind of humanoid form was a later part of the game, but it's not only does it make sense in terms of a gameplay thing to be able to swim as a squid, but I think it really just echoes the aesthetic gameplay choice to make it cephalopods and oceanic in such a cool way. And so with that, I think we should talk a little bit about a gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Nico and I play almost exclusively what is called Turf War. And
because I'm bad at all the other ones.
No.
Yes.
This is the, default casual mode. You have 2 sides on a map, 4 players to each side. You are trying to ink the most turf. It could not be more simple than that.
Straightforward.
Completely straightforward.
With one exception, actually. You can be really selfish and just want the most points because you also separately earn points.
Yeah.
And the points benefit you. So it's sort of like cooperatively defeating a boss. You can either focus on getting your benefits, stealing, and making sure you get the most experience for what you do, or you can work on best defeating the boss. I'll admit, when I come across horrible bastard people who like respawn sit and stuff, like those kind of bastards, like who like as you get
Spawn
reborn.
camp.
Yeah,
Trolls.
yes, exactly, Kev. I was going to try and explain it, but you knew exactly what I was trying to say, even though you didn't know exactly what I'm trying to say. I just give up sometimes on like trying to win turf.
Yeah.
And I just focus on getting myself as many points as possible so that I can like unlock new abilities, level up my gear.
Sure.
I'm currently running around in a gas mask just to be kind of creepy.
And you know, I should have sent assets so we could do a whole slide for this, but the game has such a wide variety of weapons. You know, you have various shooters, and those have various classes. Some are really rapid fire. Some are more like one big shot. You have sniper rifles. You have every style of, unfortunately, gun, but it's fun gun. It's not violence gun. And then, you know, you have pew pew, double pistols. That's all kinds of fun.
There's the Falcon expansion where everybody shoots way too much.
That is a pointed comment, sir. And then you have the other big classes, various forms of brush. Nico is a roller user, and you can see a roller user right there. You just throw your roller on the ground and start moving and paint like you are painting your house.
It's like big man juggernaut running.
Yeah.
Paint like there's no tomorrow.
You've got a more standard paintbrush version of that. You also have like buckets. I mean, there's so many different kinds of weapon, and how that influences your gameplay style is... You okay over there?
I thought that was outside.
Yeah, I went to scratch my head and I was like, thunder.
Gameplay.
How your choice of weapon influences your gameplay style, because you don't have a character in this game. You're not picking from specific characters, so you don't say like, oh, I'm a Sombra main. Again, I just keep going to Overwatch. It's really about what weapon you main, and then what sub weapon and what special. These are the three things you pay attention to, and it can really influence your gameplay style in such cool ways. And Turf War is just a really great way to kind of play around with all that.
If I may, though, I think this is what separates the Jane Mancini's from the Sydney Andrews, because I hear you say the thing that defines you as your weapon.
Yeah.
Nah, I run around like a fucking fetish creeper in this game. I use the biggest, widest roller at all times. I have a gas mask. I have big combat sneakers on.
Yeah. Okay.
I wear like tight pinched pants. Like, I fucking love the customization of the characters. I don't care about my special. I actually hate my special on my current weapon.
You do hate your special.
My current special is garbage. I can't use it. It makes no sense. I understand that other people are so good with it that they kill me with it all the time, but I can't understand it. I'm in it for the fashion. Legitimately, I'm just in it to look cute.
And, that is sort of the point of the game, and that's why the casual mode for this game is so great, because you are supposed to just be having fun. There are ranked modes, which we're going to get to in a second, that are really about doing better and improving yourself. It's the kind of thing where you maybe want to get together a team that you are all, on Discord together or whatever, because of course it's a Sisyphean task to attempt to speak to one another through Nintendo's supported technology. Which
still uses the same system that they used when they were a trading card company in the 1890s.
Yes, that's correct. It is just a can on a string that you throw as far as you can and hope that you get to your next teammate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, putting together a cute outfit and just playing around, as long as you're not, in bad faith, not playing well, which is, griefing and kind of playing against your teammates, is something that happens in this game. It actually, for the first time, happened to me in Splatoon 3, happened to me today. But in general, like, Turf War is just about having fun. It's about playing around with new weapons. It's about looking cute in your outfits, because your gear, your clothing, you have a headpiece, a shirt piece, and shoes, all of those things, you get to pick specific items that you can put together a look and an outfit, but they also give you buffs in the game. So it's not
Yeah.
just about picking the right hat, it's about picking the right hat that also
Run faster,
yeah,
come
bumps
back
your-
faster,
Exactly.
use less ink, charge
Yep.
up your special faster. I like the ones that allow me to move faster, because something in this game, like, Kevo, it's like super inspiring, because like a thing I need to point out is all of my guys tend to be I'm strong. I'm not like, I'm so strong, but like if you ask me like what kind of fit I am, I'm strong. I'm not fast. I'm not here to tell you I'm fast, but like all my guys are. And I can really understand why guys like Kevo have always prized themselves on being wiry and quick,
Mhm.
because in this game, I finally have the opportunity to be wiry and quick, which I'm not. I'm like 6'1", I'm 210. I'm not a quick man.
Yeah.
But in this game, I get to be quick. And I really understand how Kevo, as a guy who's like 5'9" and 160, has always prized himself on his wiriness. I really understand it through playing this game.
And I love that you bring that up, because the fact of the matter is there are strong play styles. There are, a more melee style weapon. Your special is going to be like the ink stamp that is a giant hammer. You're going to use some form of bomb for your sub weapon.
There is
And-
a spider Penny Parker style mech suit
Yes,
as one of the specials,
which is my special of choice right now.
Oh, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, the crab. I love him very
It's
much.
a nightmare.
It is rough stuff. But there are styles that are really based around strength, but the default in this game is kind of quick moving, swimming through. If you're being shot at, you swim away as fast as you can, or you swim up a tower to get to the next place. And you really kind of, by default, you're moving a lot in this game. But there are play styles that allow for other stuff. And it's really kind of to break so far into the game that you really move past those defaults is one of the very cool things about it. And thank you, Kevo, for visually moving us into our ranked modes.
Yes, sir.
Splat Zones is kind of, a take on Turf War. Rather than doing the whole map, you're just doing a really small zone and attempting to get control of it. This is the one that I tend to like the best because I love Turf War the most. And this is one of those things that's like, it's so simple. You're just trying to cover a patch of, 8 feet by 10 feet. Probably bigger than that, but you're just trying to cover a patch of the map. You don't need to ink the whole thing. You need to ink it so that you can get back to it as fast as possible when you are inevitably killed. But it is a really basic strategy that then gets more complicated as your teammates, as your opponents get better.
I think this is the mode that the game was in when we played in the trailer. Yeah,
that makes a lot of
because
sense.
that sounds familiar.
And one of the things that I think is really funny is if you ask me what this game actually most is like in the whole world. Yeah, this is just ink-based American Gladiators.
Yeah.
I
see that. Team-based, ink-based.
And I wish I would love to see, I want them to develop like many more games and mini games in this universe, and going full American Gladiator I think would be really cool. Next up we got tower control, which tower starts at the center of the map. When you control it, it moves to your opponent's side of the map. And so you are trying to move it along, and because it's moving closer to their side, if you kill them, they can get to it much faster, where you will respawn all the way back on your side of the map, and it takes you much longer to get there. This one has the gameplay that I'm like, yeah, the balance really matters. And you can have such an advantage for like 50 seconds in tower control and then just entirely lose it based on the fact that you're doing really well. The better you do, the more difficult it gets.
It's playing Mario Kart and being in the lead. That goddamn gold shell's gonna find your lead, ass.
Yep, exactly. Rainmaker is kind of a play on Capture the Flag, except the flag is a really large bazooka gun.
And Rainmaker is just pure misery. It
Yeah.
is misery.
I did say that Capture the Flag was my favorite kid game. Rainmaker is, I think it's so cool, but I hate being bad at it, and I am.
Yeah. It's the one where I just get so angry I have trouble playing.
Yeah. And then last we have Clan Blitz, which is like kind of like the other stuff from Capture the Flag mixed with football. I still don't know how it works. I've played almost 1,000 hours of both of these games, and I don't know how to play Clan Blitz.
I actually don't understand. Like, I've played it multiple times, and I do the talk to me, tell me how to do the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, even the game is like, I just figure it out. People who are good at Clan Blitz impress me because I don't. It's anything with Blitz in it in a video game is not for me. I am also not good at Blitzball, and I don't appreciate being asked to play it.
All right, listen. If I'm
What?
good at one sport in all of video games, I am
It's Blitzball.
spectacular at Blitzball
Yeah.
because I figured out the secret is just like that's even I'm only bringing it up to highlight it.
Yeah.
The secret to Blitzball is keep throwing the ball very quickly, because the more you throw it, the more experience your characters get, and the less likely somebody is to catch you, because you're better at throwing than you are at swimming. And you can trick yourself into being good at Blitzball. You can't do that with Clan Blitz.
It actually shocks me that they have not made it Blitzball.
Well, if the rumors are true that there's going to be a 10 remake with 10.2 and a 10.3, and it's going to be compilation, then
that
sky's the
Blitzball could
limit.
truly be a real esport for the Final Fantasy franchise.
It really could.
Instead
And like
of Dissidia.
And I don't want to talk about this because I'm so tired of being bitter about it, but I am the best triple triad player I've ever met. Fuck with me. I am the best triple triad player I've ever met. And you want to know why that is?
Yeah.
You want to know why I know as a fact I'm the best triple triad player I've ever played?
Yeah.
Because no one else plays it.
That's a very true and fair thing. We did a Final Fantasy episode. I think there are like 3 more I know we need to do, and I'm actually very excited about all of them.
Well, I am stoked that we still have so much more of this to talk about, including the one game mode that I genuinely want to put a lot of effort into getting better at.
Yes.
Salmon Run. I kept being like, Salmon Row? What? But, that's part of this game. This game is all about like sushi puns. It gets a little fishy.
Salmon Run is a typical horde mode. You and your teammates against just hordes and hordes of enemies that don't stop coming.
What do you call me?
You heard me. The goal is is to collect golden eggs, and you meet a certain quota per round. There's 3 rounds per game.
And our perfect baby.
And if you survive long enough, you collect on having gotten those golden eggs, and you get a lot of loot and prizes for it. You get some really cool exclusive gear. You get bonuses. You get cash. With Splatoon 3, they've added a 4th round where a gigantic boss that is horrifying and scary. Right now it's called the Ouroboros, and it is a long salmon-like eel creature that just screams at you and circles the map. It is horrifying, but for defeating those you also get another kind of point, and it's just, it's a good way to play with a team and not play against another team, to really challenge yourselves. It's another one of the modes where, like, as you do better, it gets much more difficult. And it is, the whole guise is that you as a kid are working for Grizzco. You okay over there? You're muted. I love
It's just raining like crazy.
Oh, really? I'm jealous. So actually, this is a good transition into one of my favorite parts of Splatoon, which is, of course, the story and story mode.
I don't regret how long it took me to come to some cool things, like, how long I've talked about it a lot on the show, Drag Race, or like this, I feel like when I got into 2 of the things that define me most, like Toriamos and Final Fantasy, everyone was like, they've been around since 1989. You're getting into them in 1998. You're too late.
You're way too late. Yeah.
And now look at us, years later, talking about the 16th Tori Amos album, the 16th Final Fantasy game, hundreds of specials in between. And like, if you tried to convince me in my absolute rightitude that I can never stray from, that there was this much story in a game that is essentially tag, I would have really been struggled. But we haven't even come close to what it is I love about this game yet, which is the culture. The modes are great. They're so fantastically fun, but like the culture is the game for me. So like that we still have another slide or two of exciting, interesting, compelling information, yet we're still not at the stuff that's so great. This is one of those franchises that I am disappointed that I took so long to come to it, but I'm really grateful that there's such a wealth that I'm now here to explore. I'm rewarded for having waited so long in a unique way compared to you, who's rewarded for having seen it unfold.
And, I even regret that I didn't really play 1, that I wasn't there for all of the Splatfests in 1, that I didn't hear, Spicy Calamari Incantation. And we're going to get to the music, but I do want to note for our listeners that Nico here, the incredible artist and composer that he is, I gave him the challenge of doing his version of the most popular song from Splatoon, Spicy Calamari Incantation by the Squid Sisters. And he knocked it out of the park in a way that only he could. And Splatoon music is so incredibly special that to touch it at all and to do any kind of riff on it is amazing. But to do what he did here is so impressive. And music by the incomparable Nico J. Vasillo. So the story modes in this game are really kind of just training. They're just there to make sure that you've used every weapon once, so that if you want to know what it's like to use the sniper rifle, you don't have to go into a game and kind of blunder. You don't have to go into a turf war match and blunder around. Although honestly, you can. It's fine. But if you're a little self-conscious, if you want some guidance, if you want to have a goal that'll make you better with it, story mode will get you there. Inevitably, the first two have the same kind of formula. The Octarians, who are the rivals to the Inklings, so the octopus people as rivals to the squid people, have stolen the great Zapfish, which is the power source for the whole city. And you, as an agent that has been recruited for the new Squid Beak Splatoon, hence the name, must go complete all of these challenges and do all these stages in order to go get it back. And like I said, it is just basically a training mode. It teaches you the mechanics of this world of gameplay as a whole, but it's not anything where you're like, my life has changed for having played this. It's just a really cool way to, they're 10 to 20 hours probably, and it's just a really cool way to get into the game a little bit and experience the story and the world building that is part of this.
I would even say just have an opportunity to engage with the larger narrative of it.
Yes.
One of the things that makes it so hard, and Kevo, this is something I love that Kevo is such a good sport about video game episodes, because it's not that he doesn't have any understanding or interest or ability in video games, but it's rather that he spends a lot of his energy in other narrative forms of fiction.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a bummer that, Kevo doesn't have as much to request from the video game universe, but has just as much to offer in conversation. But Kevo, something that we've talked about extensively is that you find it frustrating when other forms of media are necessary to appreciate something. I can think of, next Saturday we have a piece of content I'm so excited about. And I think always of the series 4 finale arc of Doctor Who, where the total amount you needed to know what was going on with Gwen, Yanto, and Captain Jack was Gwen sucked in season 1, but she's great in seasons 2 and 3.
They exist. That's it. You just needed to know that these entities were out there.
Mommy.
And now she's mommy.
and she's great. And season 3 is her real anyway. So like one of the things that's great is it's like Splatoon said, what if we give you modes where you can get all of that and it's all built in? It's almost like they say this is a mall and you can get everything you need. All the stores are here.
Well, and it literally you get to the mode from in the first game it's Inkopolis Plaza, in the second game it's Inkopolis Square, and in the third game it's Splatsville. You get to the various modes from going around this small city map that is also where all of the shops are as well. Everything is in this one place that you kind of like a mall. Walk to whatever the thing is that you want to go to, and then from there, even within the story mode, a lot of it is you can kind of pick which stage you're going to go to and what you're going to try first. Are you going to do the one with the sniper rifle? Are you going to do the one with the paintbrush? And ultimately you need to collect a certain amount of whatever the thing is to progress, but it really is about that choice.
And I just want to add that it's not that I'm sure that every single Inkling or Octo kid could defeat Eureka in a lip sync for the crown, but I do feel like most of them look a little bit like Aquaria. There's like a fashion bitch kind of about all of these characters, and I think Squidbeak Splatoon visually as an element of playing how we understand the passage of time, even if we don't understand that part of time. This is where, like, listen, I teach kids, or at least recently have, I just need to level with you. Even when you show them a kind of phone they've never seen before, they don't start chewing on the floor and not know what to do because they're driven insane by new ideas. Like, there's such a thing as realism contextualization, where we understand that age can be told from photographs and stuff. And there's something really fascinating about how Splatoon has gone so far as to create a contextualization for the passage of time, even for eras that didn't exist. Now, please don't get me wrong, Fallout, Witcher, I can't stop thinking of games. I just can't seem to name them at the moment. But, there's a lot of love put into the creating lore in video games, and Splatoon's no different.
And I actually love that you bring up Fallout, because of course that's post-apocalyptic as well. So you've got first the thing that everybody wants to know. What happened? How did we get to the world post-apocalypse? What was the apocalypse? How did we get to where we are now? But then, we also learn through playing this game that, like, there's history to Incadia, which is the wider. It's actually Japan. In this post-apocalyptic world, Japan is Incadia, and you have Inkopolis and Splatsville are two of the towns. There's other places as well, but their history is thousands of years old as well. And the history of Inkopolis over the last 100 years is kind of what gets us to the heart of the story. 100 years ago, the original Squidbeak Splatoon fought in the Great Turf War, which was not a fun game that kids play in sort of recognition of the past. It was actually a war with the Octarians over control of the last, dry land that they could get to. And the effects of that are what is playing out in story mode now, and the Squidbeak Splatoon has been started again to sort of correct the sins of the past. It's not really like oh my god, they broke new ground with that story formula.
Right.
But it does allow for the introduction of so many elements and so many characters. You're seeing right here in this picture Kevo has up for us, a stand-in version of you as the main character in the middle, and then the two on the left and right are the original pop idols for the first game, Callie and Mary. That's Calamari, who are fixtures of the game, but then also play really big into the story mode as they are members of the new Squidbeak Splatoon. And that's just a cool interweaving of story. So many other people that you see in the game and interact with have that kind of, like, it's the guy that sells you weapons, but his grandfather was one of the guys in the old Squidbeak Splatoon. And it just gives you so much to dig into if you want to, and if you want to inhabit the world.
And it's about inhabiting a world, right? Like, it's about that sort of surrender into character and fun. And not to bring up Doctor Who again from next week, but that is
No,
one of the things
please.
that I love about the high era of Doctor Who. You have a children's show and the magic of Sarah Jane and the trappings of a children's show and its tropes. You have a more adult show in Torchwood, and of course, the mainstay of Doctor Who. That dexterity of character and storytelling, that's something that I think makes a really good universe, and it's something that's necessary to get me to play along.
Yeah.
And I love, lastly, the sort of slight change in aesthetic with the art of the past photos. It just, it makes me smile. Real
Yeah.
quickly, the third game has a story that sort of picks up on where the last two go, but does a lot more expository work when it comes to what happened with the apocalypse, how squids are now humans. It also deals with the nature of Mr. Grizz and Grizzco, the company that employs you to hunt the mutant salmon and steal their eggs. It's just a really great tying up of everything that's been introduced. It sort of makes it such that these games could go anywhere from here, and I would say, you're never really getting the first one unless you get a Wii U again, but Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2, if you ever get it on a discount, even for just the story mode, is worth like maybe $10. And Splatoon 3, for everything else you get, I really will say the story mode is worth so much, and it also has some of the best music in the game, which we will get to in a little bit.
Now, not just what I used to do when we would hang out in West Hollywood, but what is a Splatfest?
Oh, a Splatfest. So Splatfests are in-game events. They also, are in-universe events as well, but in-game events in which they are announced. You prepare about a week ahead by choosing a team that you're going to fight for, and then they usually start on a Friday night and go until a Sunday night. For that 48-hour period, all of your turf war fights go towards the points for whatever team you've picked.
Well, it's a scaled point value. You get like a percentage of the points, right? Like it's its own caliber.
Yeah, well,
count.
if you get a win, obviously that's a lot more points to the team that won. But you get there are other metrics by which just for playing you support your team. There's also whichever team had the most people pick it gets points. So there's a bunch of different metrics that add up to give you the total and to choose a winning team. But this right here from Splatoon 2 is a great example. Do you prefer the super mushroom or the superstar? Everybody picked a team and you fought for your team.
Our show did the exact same question.
Yes. And what did you pick?
I picked superstar. Thank you.
Yeah. And you got another really simple one right below, which was mayo versus ketchup. Aesthetically, when you do this, all of your ink is in the color of whatever thing you picked. The mayo ink was a choice.
Why not mustard?
We're all gonna right. Yeah, no, I really did wonder why not mustard. And again, so much of stuff is filtered through the lens of this is a Japanese game.
And it's a Japanese game that attempts to be global via creating a contextualization for Japan. There's Japanese games that are like, look, we're Japanese. We're not really worried about international customization.
Yeah.
But this wants to be accessible.
Yes. It wants the entire world to exist, not just the world of Japan. So in the first two games, it's one side or the other. For Splatoon 3, we add the wrinkle of a third team. And we add the mechanic of a tricolor turf war in which all three teams play against each other. Now, these are not every game, but they are some games that usually take place on a triangular map. They are hell, but this is all for fun, so we just enjoy it no matter what. And this whole broadcast that we're doing now is coming about because of the fact that we are in the middle of a Splatfest. I stopped playing in the Splatfest so that I could talk to you guys about Splatoon. But as soon as we're done, I'm going to go get with Team Mint Chip and fight for our victory.
That's right, Team Mint Chip. You guys should all join Team Mint Chip. You should go on and you should go buy Splatoon.
Go buy Splatoon immediately.
Immediately.
With 24 hours left. Join the Splatfest.
Immediately after this broadcast. Immediately
Yes.
after this broadcast.
After
Not
the
right
broadcast.
now.
I just picked up the, it's great because like I actually, I hate to say it this way, but like I like simp for like a good season pass.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, a good season pass is like a good go-go boy. Like you can just keep me shoving the dollars in for way longer than I know it's good. And like, that is how I felt when I saw that my season pass for this game is going to give me downloads through December.
Yep.
$25. So instead of paying just 50 for the game, you can pay 75 and get over a year of updates. I'm not like shilling. I'm literally saying that makes me feel like the game is more valuable.
It gives you interesting new play modes, but the big thing it gives you is a whole other story mode.
Yeah.
We got this for Splatoon 2. We got the Octo expansion, which sort of helped to... So one of the big things that's been happening in Splatoon is that the Octarians have gone from... You know, Octarians are the bad guys in the first two, but Octolings are like Inklings, just octopus people. And the point has been kind of bringing together the fact that Inklings and Octolings can coexist and exist together. They have sort of a Cold War thing going on, but like in Splatoon 2, the hosts for the game are one Inkling and one Octoling. And that's just, you know, again, it's part of the complex culture and story that's happening in Splatoon. And for the second game, the Octo expansion kind of delved into that a little bit more. It delved a bit into this apocalyptic world and how it exists. And I would say one of the things I missed most about Splatoon 3 when it started was the aforementioned host of Splatoon 2, Pearl and Marina. They were two of my favorite characters in this franchise. And the big announcement, of course, with the Side Order DLC is that they will be a big part of the story mode that will be released for that. So I'm just super excited. And on top of all the other stuff you get when you get the expansion, the fact that you get another story is just going to be really cool. Octo expansion was fantastic, so I could not be more excited.
And it's that expansions do make me feel like the game is more alive.
Yeah.
Like I was just saying on the previous slide that the additional game modes give me a reason to go back and replay. Like if you want to know the actual biggest bummer in the world, I don't have a reason to ever replay Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
I have no reason to ever replay it. I've outgrown my B, Squall, and Fuck Zell fantasies because now I'm a Squall and I have a Zell. Hey, Jonah. So like I have those, those realities, and like there's nothing that's ever going to make me go back and play that game again. Maybe boredom. Maybe that they're now saying that they want to do pixel remasters of every other game and remakes of every game that doesn't have a pixel remaster. But this makes me excited to like open it. Like when I see that new software was downloaded, update was downloaded for your software in the corner of my Switch, I get so excited because it's like, oh, there's more now. And that's what I think is part of why there's this whole writer's strike in acting. Thank God for Fran Drescher just standing up to every single human being on the planet right now for the actors, not the actors like Fran Drescher who are multimillionaires. Fran Drescher was at one point married to a billionaire, literally. So she's not fighting for Fran Drescher. She doesn't care about Fran Drescher's net worth. She's going to live on royalties from The Nanny. She could live on daily royalties from The Nanny for a year. And that's just one of those statements. It's when P. Diddy said that he has to pay Sting $600 a day because of how much money he makes each day on I'll Be Missing You. Paying Sting $600 a day doesn't even cut into the profits. That's what he said. And like, to think about that, you know what I mean? So when we talk about the idea that writers are striking, actors are striking, they're not striking for the millionaires and billionaires. They're striking for the different pieces, the people that get forgotten, the best boy, the grip, the rigger, the people who do the lighting package, the people who set up the stage, the actors who didn't have any lines and walked through the scene in the background. And when we talk about sort of like the perpetuity of a piece of art, one of the things that happens is the art becomes static, right? Like we're rewatching Friends right now, Kevo and I, and it's abhorrent the ways it's transphobic and gender specific. There's ways it's great actually. And okay, I'm so sorry. So last night Kevo and I were up till like way too late. We were just being like drunk fucks. And he was trying to get work done and I kept walking over and putting my dick in his hand. And it was terrible. But I bring it all up because so last night we were watching Empty Nest, thanks to the server that TK set up for us at like 12:30 in the morning. And there was a joke on Empty Nest that blew my mind. Carol, the obnoxious daughter, who I never found funny once as a kid, but now think is the funniest character in the history of the world, just goes, "My greatest fear is that PMS isn't real and I'm just like this." Okay, but I bring up that joke because, like, the things that we say are the shocking, horrible things that, like, Friends made TV mean. No, Kevo pointed out that Cheers had elements of it and Empty Nest had elements of it last night when we watched. And I think part of what I'm getting at, this whole big picture, this whole narrative, is that we sometimes look at a piece of fiction and see how it can't grow. Friends is stuck in a, an early 2000s world, right? I almost said 2001. An early 2000s world. And as such, there are things about it that can't grow, that can't change, and can't evolve with its people. But if it was possible for Friends to install an update and patch over a joke that hurt somebody with a joke that doesn't, if we could fix those things the way that a game can through a season pass and updates.
Nothing is inherently blanket problematic. But
yes.
There are these elements of it. I get what you're saying. Like, it is not an inherently problematic premise. Not a very diverse show, but that doesn't inherently make it problematic. It just makes it kind of weak. But it's these story elements that happen occasionally, where if you just took out certain stories and certain jokes, you'd still have plenty of sitcom just cobbled together.
And I think what I'm trying to say is these ongoing projects, this idea that Splatoon is never done, that, and until they retire the game, that 3 is going to continue to get patches and updates, that these Splatfests continue to evolve the game, to evolve ideas. We get new pieces and new parts. It's something that I could have never dreamt of before you got me into it. I thought, patches were for things like all your base are belong to us. You know what I mean? Like, I thought patches were for typos.
Fixing. Yeah. And I mean, it's the kind of nature of the omnipresence of the internet and how games are almost always online now. There are systems and games that you can't play without an internet connection, and that really does suck for a lot of reasons. It would be great to have ways to address that for people who don't always have access to the internet, but the benefit that it gives us is that these things are not just interactive in the way that they are games and you interact with the game, but that the broader world that it creates is one that you interact with and can build upon, and that can reciprocally build new things for you. It's something to really appreciate when games are able to really keep pumping stuff out, and especially in a way that's like a little more limited than an MMO or something like that, where you still get just like incremental updates, but maybe not like I must always be online.
And I think one of the things that's so great about the updates for this game is, again, I'm not like coming for your thesis earlier that this game is super accessible. No, it's not accessible. I don't want it to be accessible. It's about being fucking hot and fashion-y. Get out of my way. It's about always being Regina George and shooting ink in other people's eyes. And I love that the fashion updates.
Yes, getting new fashion and getting new weapons is a pretty sweet deal. And I want to move us towards talking about that, but first we have to talk about Incadia. I've mostly already kind of given the lowdown on this. This is the map that we have of the places where the game takes place, and it is all in what used to be Japan.
This is where actually I fell in love with Amber Tamblyn.
I do not get this. Oh, Joan of
No.
Encadia. Yeah.
Oh, you're an
yeah.
idiot. Okay.
time. Big
Who
time.
even knows who Amber Tamblyn is anymore, let alone
I
Joan of
promise you,
Arcadia?
David Cross knows who Amber Tamblyn
One
is.
person who knows who David Cross is anymore.
No
Russ
one.
Tamblyn.
I'm just gonna keep going down this list.
So yeah, the game has a whole world. We've only been introduced to the former Japan of this world. It makes me think a lot about all the other places that could exist. I would love to see the East Coast of America, of the Splatoon world. We've got some great mollusks and squids here. So just, again, really fantastic world building. Just really cool stuff happening.
I think it would, I'm not even trying to be silly. I mean,
No.
I'm obviously being a little silly, but like with that this is such a squid and, calamari heavy world, I would love to see like chefs like Gordon Ramsay, who became famous for his scallop, something where like, what's the iteration of a person like that
Yeah.
who is such a force in, like, he literally is the reason that scallops exploded in popularity, in price, in availability. He changed the market with his menu. And, that's a major turning point. It's like the guys who were the ones who, were using marrow, the ones who started using marrow when they first started using marrow was 50 cents a pound. And now it's like $6.50 a pound and they can hardly afford it. So, I think one of the things that I love is like all of my favorite video games have thorough maps.
Yeah.
Whether it's Pokemon, it's, the Mushroom Kingdom, or it's every single Final Fantasy where the world map is a celebration. Even my favorite album of all time has an exquisite map with Scarlet's Walk by Tori Amos. You can check out our amazing coverage of it a couple weeks ago. And I'm not saying it was amazing because we did it. I'm saying it was amazing because it was Tori fucking Amos. So, I definitely think maps tell a story in terms of a visual connotation. What is this world like? That it's like Nippon, that it's like, it's Japan, but it's like Japan from, and I use, Japan's internal term because it's Japan from Japan's perspective, not an American's take on Japan, which is of course not bad, but inferior to a Japanese person's take on their own culture and country. So I actually think that's one of the things that makes this game so terrific is its dedication to creating a world that has value, that has like that testable quality.
Completely agree. And I also, this will move us into what will be a recurring theme throughout the next few things that we talk about, which is the kind of real world equivalents of stuff that we see in Splatoon. And Inkopolis Square, which is Inkopolis, which is the city where the first two games take place, is based on Shibuya in Japan. And
which Shibuya Square is like one of the most significant fashion districts in the entire world. It is a center of like culture. There's so few people that live in that area for economic and geographic reasons combined. And the kids in Shibuya are the ones who dictate what every cool kid is like in that half of the world. It is so amazing what 200 kids hanging out in Shibuya Square dictate for the world. It's amazing.
Exactly. I really could not have said it better myself. Thank you. And that's the whole point of Splatoon. Like that is, you are the kids that are the trendsetters, that are the young people kind of experiencing that joie de vivre. And that's who you're playing as. And that's why it's so important that the game kind of represent a place that is so associated with youth kind of driving culture. The third game takes place in Splatsville, which is based on Kowloon in China. Kowloon is most famously known for Kowloon Walled City, which is like the inspiration for all of cyberpunk. It is a square block in which just everything was buildings, built vertically up entirely. And some insane millions of people lived there. It was a total safety hazard, but it was just a city in which you had absolutely everything within 1 square block, and everything was in a building. There was not really a lot of walking space or moving space.
There actually were like concerns about air quality as a result of inability to cycle in oxygen. It's like one of the reasons they changed it.
But Kowloon itself is a city that is still relatively densely populated, and has a reputation for being a little bit gruffer. I don't think it has the reputation for being anarchistic, which is a big part of Splatoon 3 is, anarchy, which is because the last Splatfest of Splatoon 2 was Chaos versus Order, and Chaos won. So for the third one, they gave us a very chaotic situation. But we got a new area, and we got a brand new aesthetic for it, brand new architecture. Just again, ways of building the world through details and little elements that you don't experience through exposition, you experience through inhabiting the space.
It's also a matter of you kind of have to take the time. And that's one of the things that I do think is great and kind of terrible about this game in that way. Like, I don't play video games with the music on, except music games.
Yeah.
Like, I like to create my own soundtracks for video games. And sometimes it's a show that I like to have a sitcom playing in particular in the background, or it's an album. And it's not that I don't love video game music, but I like to listen back to the music later on.
Yeah.
Because I don't always feel that video game systems honor the density of how the music should sound. And as soon as you get a copy of the soundtrack, you can hear it's different, right? So I do love video game music, like more than I love almost anything really, but I listen to it differently than most people. So a lot of the quality of the music in Splatoon was something I came to much later as a result of not having an opportunity. And it's not because I don't love listening to video game music, but I love hanging out with my guys, and I play video games as I'm doing other things. So it's hard for me to put a pair of headphones on. Like I have them here to show this. I cut the other ear off of a pair of headphones.
Yeah.
So that I only have one ear in when I'm playing Theater Rhythm, which, hold on, I just, in case I have not shown it, I just wanted to show that Kevin will tell you, I literally wouldn't buy it until they came down a little bit in price, and then I needed it in the coral. The coral was like, it was the most important thing to me. I can't even tell you how I think this is literally the most attractive video game system ever made. And in this color scheme, with this particular gray case, I just think it's like literally the most perfect system ever. And I think maybe number 2 is that stunning, I mean, gouge your eyes out. And so it's the last thing you've ever seen in your life. Animal Crossing New Horizons limited edition sticker system and Joy-Con set. That thing was going for $1,700 at the peak of the Pando because it is so beautiful.
Then they just started making more just to teach you a lesson about fake scarcity. I, of course, have the Splatoon 3 edition.
I was
OLED
there when
Switch,
you pre-ordered it,
which is the most gorgeous thing to me in the world, and which I love so very much. But yeah, I mean, music. We're going to talk a bunch about music in just a bit, but I the same way, I'm often doing other things, and I find myself struggling even now when I've heard all of the Splatoon music a billion times. I listen to it throughout my day. I still sometimes I'm like, no, I need to listen to whatever the song is while I'm playing because I'm not playing it otherwise. So, and of course, the purveyors of the music of Splatoon are the pop idols that we meet throughout the game. If you wouldn't mind, Kevo. So yeah, I love these people so much.
Hold on. I want to say one thing that is so dumb.
Yeah.
I just wish one of them was a faggot. It's so dumb, but I just wish one of them was basically Adam Lamb. No, they're all ladies.
Is this not Sugar and Spice?
Oh my god, Kevo! Kevo!
Is
I
this
need to
not just-
contact them immediately. They need to do this cosplay. They would think it was so dumb, but I have to convince them.
I want to
Um,
do. I've said it like 800 episodes in a row, but like my actual dream video game cosplay of all time now is really. I've always wanted to do a Tom of Finland look, with the tight pouch and like the tight hat and like all the bulges and the straps, and like I want to do one full Splatoon
Thomas
because
Flatland.
yeah, Thomas Flatland would be the sexiest thing I
great.
could possibly do with my body.
Fully agree. Fully agree. So every Splatoon game, when you turn it on, when you start the game, starts with an introduction that is a TV show or a radio show. It is some kind of show in which the hosts are like, hey, welcome to the game. This is what's going on. This is where you'll be playing Turf War today. This is where the ranked modes are taking place.
Basically an inky version of Radio Free Roscoe.
Nailed it. When a new Splatfest is announced, they'll say, they'll announce that. When changes have been made to the game, they'll announce that. And the characters are musicians and idols in the Splatoon world. And it starts in Splatoon 1 with the Squid Sisters, Callie and Mary, who end up being part of the plot as well. They end up being part of the new Squid Beak Splatoon, and at one point one of them is in danger. I won't get too into that, but it establishes this idea of like broadcast media and music being an indelible part of this game. And the Squid Sisters come out with this song called the Spicy Calamari Incantation, which is one of the most recognizable songs in the game. And there's like so much more to say about it, and like at the same time nothing more. We get Pearl and Marina in Splatoon 2. Their vibe is a little bit different. Pearl on the left is a rapper. Marina is a crooner. Their songs are a little more like R&B, dance, hip hop.
It's really interesting, the interpolations of New Jack Swing.
Yes.
Which is a really New Jack Swing is a style of 90s dance music that can be probably traced a little bit more to artists of color and queer artistry. You can see a lot of New Jack Swing in the work of like an early Mariah Carey, kind of like a Someday, or you can hear it in the work of Jane Child. I Don't Want to Fall in Love is, of course, a New Jack Swing masterpiece. I think one of the reasons I just want to go out of my way to highlight that is understanding New Jack Swing is sort of a queer Black Latin New York person's thing. And there's something really beautiful about the way Asian culture respects hip hop culture and dance culture. I understand that it is probably appropriative, and I don't have the right to argue with that, except as a queer person, I do make a lot of house music. I think when you're talking about appropriation, though, you need to talk about intent and honor. And I can't imagine, the ghost of Heavy D saying anything, but these guys really, really love the art form and celebrate it in song.
And I think you so nailed it talking about New Jack Swing, and then, particularly referencing Someday by Mariah Carey, which like that is such a perfect example of how off the hook, how their music comes across, because like it is that classic 90s thing of a beautiful R&B singer with like a hip hop solo in the middle of the song. It's usually a guest star, whether it be ODB, Ja Rule,
Biv DeVoe. Now
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. But in this case, the musical stylings go like a lot deeper and really want to mine not just like the pop equivalent that you hear right off the bat, but like the deeper influential sound. So I think you absolutely nailed it with that. And then with Deep Cut, it is really anarchy. It is all musical styles all at once.
It's sort of this millennial tribe dance music. It's sort of like the way in 1997, I think Sasha's Voyage of Ima came out. I do not remember when.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 97 was the special edition of Ima. And guys like BT, Paul Oakenfold, and Moby were inventing what is still dance music today. And there was a frenetic, almost like guys in Prodigy doing songs like Firestarter. And were kind of testing the limits of what dance music could be. And anytime somebody is like, dance music is dumb, I'm like, then you must not think that Blur Song 2 is dance music. And I maybe think then you're kind of an idiot, because I think if you don't think that somebody can dance to Song 2, you're crazy. And that Song 2 is the thing that essentially gives birth to the identity of the Killers. What I guess I'm trying to say is that Splatoon 3 highlights that great line that runs from Blur to the Killers. I keep saying the Killers, and I mean the Gorillas.
I was wondering. Yeah.
It's just so many fake identities and murderous characters.
But a really good group to reference, because Damon Albarn was so involved with like Dan the Automator Nakamura, with
I love Dan the Automator.
What's his name from Mike Patton. God, I'm forgetting all these people's names.
There's only 4, so just animated guy 1 through 4.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, there's also Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
That's actually, those are 4 great people that made a lot of different music together over a lot of different genres that, while hip hop was a huge base, stacked a lot of other influences on top of it. And it really is a similar thing to what happens in Splatoon 3, where you will have like a house beat with elements of big band, with elements of like traditional Japanese music, with salsa, and it's kind of doing so much stuff at once. It's just really cool. And then, there's in-universe lore, but there's in-universe lore about all the bands, which we have another slide about, but that Big Man, the manta ray in the middle, is the producer who, spends hours working on the songs. And this, by the way, is one of many reasons why I call Nico Big Man, because he's the big guy who makes all the music. But you've got Shiver on the left and Fry on the right, who, contribute vocals and rap, and they have parts to play in the story as well. But these are this whole tableau are the hosts of the game, are the big characters. And there's a great reference for Pearl and Marina that we'll see in the fashion slide that just like made me smile as soon as I saw it.
And all I ever think is that we don't give Marina enough shit for killing Katie's mom.
Yes, we do.
I swear to God, it took therapy to convince me to keep watching The Magicians. I hated Marina so much, but my God, I would do anything for Julia.
Yeah.
She's so magical. Julia, in exactly as she is, no change, just walking right into Splatoon, just being like, "You guys are magic. I have a baby. Hey,
I'm gonna
it's me,
splat
it's
you."
Julia."
Splatoon with a magical bent would be fun.
You guys,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of minor inking.
So let's talk fashion.
The fashion of this game made me gayer. I actually own some of the clothes in the game, which freaks me out that they're so based on real clothes. I swear to God, actually, my whole favorite thing in this game is shopping. It is so exciting to get items and then buy like too many items, and then there's like special ways to get couture-esque items. And like when I see somebody else in my gas mask, I get really mad because like my gas mask was only available for like 24 hours. So like, stop wearing it. It's mine to make you sexually uncomfortable with. And like, I think the fashion in this game is, I talk a little bit about how I think a lot of media is actually driven toward the Harry Potter model of create, identify, and replicate identity. I think that's a huge part of how we absorb media nowadays, not just as a result of Harry Potter, but as a result of Tiny Toons. You could be a Babs or a Buster. You could be
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, right?
You were a big
Every,
Ranger,
Sailor
Ranger,
Moon, you know, that everything gave you, even things that gave you a semi-binary, although there were definitely other levels, like, you know, my precious card captor Sakura, where you could be Shaoran or you could be Sakura. You know, you could be a Meilin, you could be a Tomoyo. Like, there were other characters you could be, even if it seemed like the binary. All of that goes out the window. I have more fun expressing myself personally in Splatoon. And I joke that the gas mask is sexual because, like, I guess on some level, I will always want to be Brendan Fraser being sexually taken advantage of by Ian McKellen and the gas mask, if you know what I'm talking about. Gods and monsters.
Oh yeah.
But oh, messed me up so bad. So good. But you know, the thing I think I'm trying to say is, like, it's actually just a little form of subversive culture that I enjoy. I think gas masks are a statement of what the human spirit has survived. We actually had a friend who kind of fetishized them a million years ago, and I thought it was really scary that he did. And over time, like, you know, 15 years later, I really understand a little bit of where subversive culture is a part of our identities in ways that can never be separated, whether it's on a fascistic level or it's on just like an analogous social level. And I joke that the gas mask is to be sexually uncomfortable, but it's really to express my desire to combat the expectation of culture. I don't just keep Asbury behind me because Asbury's fun. It's because keep Asbury weird. And I like that. Something that this game gives me that no other video game can possibly give me the same way that I've experienced so far is an ability to be subversive in an already subversive culture in a way that is, by game design, appreciated. Like, that is magic in design.
You, like, absolutely nailed it. I agree with everything you said. I love, you know, you get 3 pieces of clothing. You get shoes, you get a top, and
Is it really just 3? Because I feel like it's 10. I feel so customized.
So you get the 3 pieces, and then you can change your hair, which is you don't pay for. You know, they give you a bunch of styles, and you can always switch those. And you can change your pants or shorts. You get, again, like 10 or 12 styles, and you can switch those whenever you want. So, you know, right now I'm in a pair of headphones and some high tops and my Splatfest t-shirt. So I'm wearing just like athletic shorts. But there will be times where one of my favorite looks is, you know, lace up pink Doc Martens, for which I will wear like a pair of skinny jeans. And then, you know, oftentimes it's a button down shirt. I have a full, like, Parisian fantasy where I've got a beret and sunglasses, a sailor's top.
And just, I just want to, I love that we're both much darker skinned in the game than either of us are in real life. Like, as a Latin man who was not gifted with the melanin, but proud of every ounce of my culture, I don't get to be as dark skinned as I sometimes feel my culture celebrates maybe a little more. You know what I mean? Real quick, this is the beautiful, oh, you kind of can't see it because of the stuff, but like, just looking at this game is so beautiful. I just wanted to pull open my my character to show off my character right now. Because it's so cool. Oh, hey, what's up, Shiver? So yeah. I really do feel super customized. I love that I get to be not, you know, appropriately melanated, because it's not quite melanated, but it is beautifully of color. You do not have to be white because white sells better. You get to be whatever shade of squid person expresses your heart. And that's the kind of thing that you can only get in a game that surrenders to that kind of fun.
And I do the avatar that I've chosen, who I sometimes call my son, because, you know, you are technically a kid in this game, and I really celebrate that. But he is dark skinned, he's black, And that was a conscious choice I made when I started playing this game that I knew I loved so much, because there is kind of this idea that 9 times out of 10, if you're given a character type that you can't choose from, it's going to 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a white person. And
it's going to be a white person that vaguely looks like you or a bigger version of you.
Yeah, and the expectation is that, like, if there's any character customization options, they're going to give you a lot of ways to be white and far fewer ways to be black. And the expectation is always that white is the default. And I really wanted to celebrate the ways that this game allows for diversity, and to kind of push back against the idea that every character you play needs to be a white person. How many decades did black people, play as characters like Mario, who are never black? So I wanted to celebrate that this person, who is not just an avatar, but a person living in this world, would not just by default be a white person.
I have my character in all green because I love Kevy, and Kevy's favorite color is green. So I have my character in all green, and that means they don't show up. But because my green screen, so I can't show my character off.
But even just saying that, like, I love Kevy. Kevy loves green, so I'm gonna wear all green. That can be your MO for Monday, and then Tuesday, I have a really great kind of post-apocalyptic spikes and shoulder pads look that I really love.
I have a look that I feel kind of actually. I maybe am super into the super fashion-y queens, and I have a look that I feel looks kind of like Violet Chachki. And I sometimes put it on because it's kind of prissy and frilly. There are prissy, frilly looks in this game. It's insane.
And they made a really conscious choice with the third game to take down any kind of gender binary, and you can get looks that would be traditionally female or male regardless of the presentation of your character. But the other really amazing thing they've done is, again, it's the real world equivalents. There is a style of shoe called the Black Norimaki 750, which is a reference to the Yeezy Boost 750, and you can see that the style of shoe is really similar. When Splatoon came out, those shoes were such a big part of fashion and culture, and they really wanted to express that these trends would be recognizable in the game. You see in the top right there, my cherished LL Bean boot. They've got a version of it in the game as well. And of course, LL Bean is not the only one that makes this style of boot, but they make ostensibly the most well-known one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in the left corner, we have just like, this isn't a like brand or notable coat. This is just something as a kid you would see all of the time. Some version of this windbreaker that they kind of pulled together for the game. And then that
every one of us has had some version of this windbreaker.
Right. I had the Mighty Ducks one. I think my sister had the New York Rangers one, which is...
I had this one.
Yeah, I believe that. That's very you. These are you colors.
There's Doc Martens, there's Converse. There are so many recognizable fashion items in the game, and then ones that are totally unrecognizable. A full mech suit, a samurai outfit. Each of the, you have amiibos for each of the idols in the game that you then get their clothing. And I put this last image
my super hot boyfriend bought me the amiibos for this game, actually. He's super cute and super into this game and looks really good in wide brim hats. I don't know.
This is a Splatoon hat, by the way. This is some of my real world Splatoon gear. But thank you.
Thank you.
Bottom right, I put in this image both because it is the idols, Pearl and Marina's fashion, but also shows you like how the game is trying to reference stuff. They are characters whose like style and music is so closely associated with hip hop, and those references are not just in the music but in the style itself.
Truly.
So I just thought that was cool.
And one of the things that I think is really important is that even if they are referencing things, there's an identity that belongs to the game. I actually kind of hate the raccoon eyes, but I love that they belong to this game, and that
Yep.
when you see those raccoon eyes, you kind of know it's Splatty. If you don't know video games, maybe you wouldn't know it's Splatoon, but if you're a gamer and you see those raccoon eyes, you know that style.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing that ties it all together when you're talking about culture and fashion and pop idols is, of course, the music, which we've talked about already a lot. But I just wanted to, like, reiterate how vast and comprehensive the musical catalog of this game is. I give so much credit to Toru Minagishi for I mean, I really think I don't know if he was eligible for the Video Game Award Grammy this year, first year that they're doing it, but I truly feel as though this game deserved it.
I'm not making a joke lightly. Obviously, I mean, no, in sincerity, I only wish there was a lighter term for like reparations for things that are owed to people that are not, lifeblood. But like there need to be 80 like reparation video game Grammys given out at this point.
Yeah.
Because there are people who have literally changed our lives
Yep.
with their themes that, and maybe it's because I'm lucky enough to wake up to him every morning as my husband, but that Kevo mistook the fanfare. Like I can call it the fanfare and people know what I'm saying. That Kevo mistook the fanfare for Mario music actually says something beautiful about just how far Final Fantasy has penetrated the cultural vernacular.
So I picked 3 random bands from Splatoon that I knew had a bunch of songs in the game, had a bunch of artwork, and had story. Each of these bands, there is like comprehensive information in the game and in supplemental material.
They're each as real as fickle friends.
There's stories about how the bands came together, what each of the members of the band is named, what they play, like what they contribute to the band, what they contributed to particular songs that were written. Some of these bands have broken up since since the first game between now and then.
Wait, broken up? Like break up like the Beatles? What?
Yeah. Squid Squad no longer together. And by the way, I should mention the same thing is true of the fashion. I didn't focus on this much because we would have been here forever, but each of the pieces of fashion that you get is created by a company, is a brand in game. You have like Firefin and Tony Kensa and Anaki. All of these brands have a style that is particular to them, but also a history of how they were created. Tony Kensa is actually a person. He's like their Mark Jacobs.
Wow.
And he has a whole history too. So each of these bands has music that you will hear really regularly in the game. Some of it you will hear during the Splatfest, but they also have this storied history, and they cross genres. Wet Floor has kind of like a like Celtic punk feel to them. They're like Dropkick Murphys, but I love that you can go in, and some of it you do have to like go to things like the Art of Splatoon book, or there are some like Japanese only supplemental materials that you find these stories in, but that it all is there, that it's all been written, that you can use it all is really fascinating to me. And the last kind of the best example I have for this is DJ Octavio, who is a villainous character in the game. His history goes back to the original Great Turf War. He was a friend of the leader of the original Squidbeak Splatoon. So he's this character with like hundreds of years of history in the game, who also happens to be a producer. And what you learn through like supplemental material in the game is that he is a member of this band called Turquoise October, which itself is referencing primarily the Japanese group Yellow Magic Orchestra. And you see some of their covers, like one of the covers really clearly references a Yellow Magic Orchestra cover. One of the other ones represents a Kraftwerk cover. I think if we zoom out a little bit, we can see those. But it's this, insanely complex web of references and stories that are both real world and in universe. There is a new band in this third game called Octoplush, and there is a recognizable sound between DJ Octavio, Turquoise October, and Octoplush that, although it's not all codified, you can tell that there is an intentional desire to associate these musical acts so that later they can say the reason that all sounds similar is because in universe this is the story of how this music was produced. And I just think that's amazing.
It's such a depth of understanding and design. I think it's really something that goes a long way to creating what I feel is the honesty of this game. Like, not to be odd, but there is a real difference between like a Don Henley and a Peter Gabriel. And like, I love Don Henley, but Don Henley's music is like accessible, like normal. Peter Gabriel's music is the sound of stars weeping gently for the children they never had. And that is kind of what I feel is the difference between looking at Splatoon on a surface level versus delving in. I think, Don Henley, like I said, genius, greatest, selling artist of all time by record, greatest selling album of all time, the Eagles Volume 2 Greatest Hits, edged out Thriller, and I think Rumors is now number 2. But Don Henley still a genius, but like there's nothing wrong with that deeper level, that deeper read of somebody like Peter Gabriel, who was of course the lead singer for Genesis for many years before Phil Collins, which is where I'm getting the comparison. And I think that's the magic of something like Splatoon. When you dig deeper, there's so much to mine.
Yep.
It's got such value as a project, and not just as a project, but as a cohesive universe. I don't feel like I'm walking into 10 unrelated booths at a fair. I feel like I'm walking into one understanding. It's like a Disney thing more than it's like a Six Flags thing.
Love that metaphor. Because the whole of Disney's property is Disney. Whereas each Six Flags is a Six Flags, but it's Six Flags Riverside. It's Six Flags. I don't know what the other ones are called. I just know the one in
Great
Massachusetts.
Adventure, Magic Mountain, Over Georgia.
Over
There
your
you
butt.
go. Nailed it all. So this is kind of the wrap up of our survey class on Splatoon.
I mean, I love this game series already. I've just had a great time.
I would love to know what property would you next like to see, be it video game? Would you like to see a TV show? What would you like to see from the Splatooniverse?
I think probably the cheapest, easiest thing that I would want to see from it is more interaction with other properties.
No.
Like, I'm not even sure, like how it started as a Mario concept, maybe seeing a Mario version, or like, I don't even remember why we said the word The Simpsons earlier in the episode, but like, I was like, yeah, that's something that would graft onto it well. Oh, because the bunnies. But yeah,
Yeah.
any number of properties, I think it would be fun to see how they could graft on the concept.
I love that. Actually, Simpsons especially, that'd be wild.
Especially the number of characters they have. Yeah.
Right.
I would like an anthology style multi-series, like a kiddie version, like use the Garfield and Friends that had the those, Animal Farm Orwell
Whatever that,
stand-ins.
yeah.
Use that. Have like a very Friends style episode, and then have like a Splat Babies, and like explore the universe. Do something that matches the depth of the product. Maybe that requires YouTube or Netflix, and it's 3-4 episode shows instead of 1 12-episode show. But then take the chance, because Splatoon did.
I love that. With the new world that we're just seeing the birth of Nintendo entertainment properties and movies and TV shows. I know this is probably one that's a little bit further back in the queue in terms of like this property is just now really showing its potential for success. But I also, my hope there is that creating products will kind of be old hat to Nintendo by the time they get to wanting to do something Splatoon related. So the idea of doing something a little more out there, like, yeah, a group of 3 television shows that are each like kind of special, so they only run 4 episodes. I think that's absolutely the direction to go in and would be so cool. For me, my hope is a game that kind of takes some of the best of Splatoon, which is these like modes and bits of gameplay, and maybe downsizes it a little more to make room for something like the gameplay in Animal Crossing, where you get to inhabit the world even more than you already do. So like a bunch of different mini game modes. And then rather than having that take up all the space on the cartridge, the rest of it is taken up by like getting your first apartment, doing kind of interactions with other players. I'd really love if you could interact with other players in Nintendo, and you know, getting to do more fashion stuff, getting to play around with music more, and just like really getting to inhabit the world as a part of the gameplay at the next level.
Man, I love that. Now, I believe we'd planned to play some. I don't know what the plan still is. If you want to go to commercial and then play a bit.
Yeah.
All right. Then I think we're going to queue up a commercial. And while we queue that up, I want to just point out that tomorrow we have more of our regular TV coverage, but tomorrow we are going to be adding a very unique program. We've watched a few episodes of Secret Chef, which has been spectacular. Really my kind of thing. Arden Mirren's Chefy is inexplicably one of the funniest things on TV right now. Wow, Kevo, fast work, man. Damn, not just hot, but quick. This is a great show. We're going to talk all about the kind of complicated format. I actually think the show is too hard to just jump into. There's so many rules and layers. It winds up being that episode of Superstore where it's like, oh, but no. You're not the...
He's the conductor, and you don't have the train points, and you've got to switch tracks. No foul. What?
Oh, Jerry. God, Jerry's hot. But so I'm really excited to talk about all of that tomorrow. It's going to be really great, really fun time. But until then, definitely check out all of these amazing commercials. Oh, do we have the board? I see the board.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm horny for the board. I'm always horny for the board.
I updated a little, moved some stuff around.
1 episode left till the drag race finale, so I think we got a little bit to talk about there, but I think we're saving the big stuff for next week.
For next Sunday, yeah.
But I just gotta say, Jackie Cox like tweeted at me, and like she's so beautiful. I don't know what to do.
That's my highlight for tomorrow's episode.
I was gonna say, Kevo, you're gonna have to talk about that. I want all the tea.
Yeah, Enterprise Bingo.
Kevo,
it was very fun.
You know, like we talk about how cool my husband is sometimes, but he made it so that I got to play drag bingo with a guy that was literally my hero as a kid. And, you know, out, damn spot. Anthony Rapp, dude, you are...
He's everything we expected and more based on his biography.
Parappa the
Which, I just want to say, a really cool, amazing human being, an unbelievable person, bought Anthony Rapp's biography for me the day it came out and sent it to me and said, you need to read this. And they are one of the best people in the world, and they're an amazing parent and an amazing human, and I'm so grateful for them. And so, you know, Anthony Rapp only strengthens friendship. So wherever you are, Megan Healy, you're the best person. And I love you so much. All right, commercial. And then we'll come back.
With some Splatoon gameplay.
Because if you had left that up another minute, I would have to talk about how good Joel McHale looks, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to...
We have to save that for tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, I swear, every time you tell him he's beautiful, his hair plugs grow another inch.
I mean, I was going to say,
true.
It's getting to the point where, like, people have clearly been telling him too much because they're starting to take over the whole head.
I think they've absorbed whatever was supposed to be on Alexis Michelle.
Go to commercial.
this was a fairy tale style anime film that used Mario as like the pieces for it. And it's why we had, this wizard that looks like a penis. And it's why she couldn't possibly end up with Mario because look at him. So instead, we needed to have this weird
Princess
who looks like-
Bubblegum.
Thank you. I was literally about to say he looks like he's from the Candy Kingdom. You have weird stuff like Toad is a woman. You have Bowser.
You have the magic to turn into a teddy bear, but if I put you in a box when you're a teddy bear, I will be able to defeat you readily.
And who is
Girl.
this Miss Endless character? She
Yeah,
seems
that's-
like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't trust her.
No reason you should.
Whatever this is. And now I'm seeing leg warmers, so I'm realizing, was this Flashdance? I don't even know.
I think he's just supposed to be like a ballerina, like a pretty ballerina girl.
And it's funny, like Toad is such a good example because this is so early on that we don't actually have an aesthetic standard for Mario stuff at this point.
So
that,
why
like,
not?
Yeah, because it is just so few pixels that depict what any of these characters are, that if you decide when they're fully drawn it's this, there's really nothing that says that's wrong. By the time you get to Super Mario Land, or Super Mario World I should say, it's clear enough that some decisions are starting to be made that you cannot change and that you can't deviate from so spectacularly, which is why the Saturday morning cartoon shows are very faithful and don't take the same type of liberties.
All right. I believe TK's in charge at this point.
All right, I gotta mute myself first. All right. Yeah, I am just getting my screen loaded. That's good to go. Yeah, so Kevo, at any point, if you would like to add my screen with the gameplay on it.
Yeah, I muted it, so we're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, fun.
Yeah. So first off, I gotta go to the gumball machine. No, I have no rewards. Okay, let's get to playing.
Let me see if I can make a layout that will... allow for making that thing a little bigger.
Sure. Battle time.
I was gonna make you big first. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Oh no, wait. Okay. So, booyah!
Love it.
So talk me through it. What's going on? Who are you fighting? This color is the mint chip or the chips?
This is mint chip. We're fighting vanilla right now. I'm about to get
Okay.
my butt handed to me by somebody special. I was at the very end there. I was riding my special, the crab mech that we had talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I love games that have map views like that. That is a really cool look at it.
yeah, and that's you have to be strategic using that map because there is a mechanic wherein as you're respawning, and actually not even just when you're respawning, throughout the game, you can pull up the map and jump through the map to like wherever one of your teammates is. Your teammates are all anchor points. So if you can get to one of them, you can jump to them. And
I really love that.
there will be times where like the other team is fighting you at your spawn point and you're all the way in the middle of the map and you're really just trying to get to your other teammates so you can help them,
Mm-hmm.
and so you jump over. So in this case, I'll jump. No, I'm not jump to that guy. I'm going to jump to this guy.
I also really love the colors they chose for this Splatfest. That sort of like off-white, beige-ish cream complements.
I do kind of wonder, vanilla, they chose a great color. Like, that's not really vanilla, but they chose the right
It's like vanilla
color.
bean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mint chip, I feel like they were like, chocolate is really not a compelling color. But that green, nothing beats that green.
Yeah.
And of course, the other one is a strawberry pink. That is really gorgeous. Yeah, and I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about with this game. The way color fits in is so beautiful and radical, and it's almost like distracting in how gorgeous and eye-catching it is. Oh man, I so love listening to Nico's version of the spicy calamari incantation.
Come out really good.
Yeah.
Let me pop that up again. Once more. Music by the incomparable Nico J. Vasillo.
Damn musical genius.
I'm having some
Yeah.
jumpy computer problems. So if I jump back out,
lost
it's
this one.
Yeah.
Nope, we won by 0.3.
Nice.
I may disconnect and try playing along or something because my having a little tech issue.
Okay. I'm going to keep going with this team because they served me well.
Nice.
So, as Nico pointed out, these numbers that you see here, the points, sort of detailing how much turf you inked, which is a good metric for some things, but kind of a terrible metric for others. It's not you can still lose and have inked the most turf. It is how strategically you did it and how your team did it as a whole. There's also, how many other people you splatted, how many times you were splatted, and how many times you pulled off your special, because you have to work up to your special. You have to build it up through covering turf. And those are all really important metrics because you obviously don't want to get splatted too many times. You do want to splat other people a bunch, but if you notice that it's making your gameplay suffer, maybe you're focused on the wrong things. And for a lot of gameplay styles, you really do want to focus on trying to get your special as many times as you can.
Mhm.
So these are all the things I think about when I play.
Talk to me about splatting a person versus splatting turf. Like, I didn't assume that hitting a
Yeah.
person was part of the gameplay.
It is part of the gameplay. It just is not a part that gets you any real points.
Okay.
It's basically never a metric by which you can win the game.
So you're just doing it to be a turd?
No, you're doing it to stop the other person from splatting your turn.
Okay, so it slows the person you're hitting down.
Right. If you take 2 people from the other team off the map for 5 seconds, that gives your team so much more time to splat turf.
Okay, I get that.
And that's why I say, like, it's not the most obvious thing that that's always what you want to focus on, because of course that gives you some benefit, but if you're went right into that one. If you are so focused on splatting the other team that you don't manage to properly ink the map, you've kind of just wasted your time and done a disservice to your team.
It sounds though like it's one of the ways in which it's beneficial that it's a team game where, like, you could, if there was a little more opportunity for communication, you could have people like be on, let me split my focus to splat the other team while these other teammates only focus on turf.
And that's
like
why
there could be more strategy.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's like if you want to get into competitive, it's kind of important that you like find a Discord team. You know, you find a team that can work together on Discord.
Word.
And you chat like we're doing now, but you know, you call plays and stuff. Because it really, it does take, and you know, there are a lot of times where like Nico and I are just playing, casual turf war.
I just need to break in so that you can hear that you need to send me an invite if you can.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were playing. I thought, okay.
Well, I'll try. We'll see what happens. But
as soon as I finish this round, you're there.
So just to share with people, I bought a Switch Lite. I love the Switch. I actually think I remember the day that I said to Kevo, like the day I got like a big boy job, I said to Kevo, I got a signing bonus. I would like to go buy myself a 3DS. And Kevo was like, yeah, you know, the day we met, you said to me that video games are part of your soul. We need to go buy that for you. And we went out and bought it. And my Emerald 3DS is like, you know, my second favorite system of all time I've ever owned now.
Yes.
But nothing will ever compare to the, you know, we've talked about it a lot on the show, but like the pandemic was really hard for me. I'm a very social person and I felt like caved in, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And my Switch was like one of my closest friends. Like, you know, when the pandemic happened, Jonah had one and Jonah was like, you can borrow mine as much as you want, but you kind of need your own. And I didn't really understand how much I would play it until it became like, I mean, I'm inseparable from it. Like it is, I remember Kevo has this amazing cousin, but she's a bit older than him. And so her kids are closer to our age than she is. And I said, you know, I live on my Switch. And she was like, oh, my youngest used to when he was younger. And I was like, well, then he's just not fun, I guess.
Yep.
Who? Nancy,
yeah,
I
who
just
is
assumed.
such a fantastic woman, amazing mom. Definitely not making fun of her or her amazing son, Jimmy.
No, she's the only good one. So
yeah, she's incredible, and her son is a real cool guy from what I remember. I hope he's doing great. But you know, just that joke of, you know, that the Switch was for little kids. I don't know, like during the pandemic, very few things were there for me the way Marvel Unlimited and the Switch were, and I got a lot out of the Switch that I felt like I couldn't really get from any other device in the world, because what the Switch has offered in terms of video game preservation and in terms of new game system play functionality is sort of unparalleled. You know, one of the things that we joke about a lot is that what is the next Switch going to take the shape of? What is the next Nintendo system going to be in terms of iterative function, in terms of what is the, you know, physical capacity going to represent? Is it going to be a handheld? You know, I couldn't believe that they would possibly surrender a touchscreen device, you know, after the success of the 3DS. And when I first heard they were, I was like, well, the Switch is going to be a failure. And then, you know,
It's just touchscreen.
it's not touchscreen the same way the 3DS was.
But I do think for a while, I think the option is there because they wanted to, if people missed it so much they couldn't go back.
Yes.
They wanted to make it possible to develop.
And so that's a little bit, you know, one of the things that like I'm thinking about. But, you know, I think about the way that Nintendo has proven itself generationally capable of evolution, and sometimes we're not capable of evolution, beyond the fact that the Wii U has the worst name in the history of video game development. The Wii U also lacked the ability to express to the user, you need to change. The Switch had in its name, you need to change, Switch.
Switch it up.
And that's something that I think is so stupid that we don't really see as people, but we actually kind of can see if we think about it for a moment.
Yep.
We understand that there are things that tell us what they are. What, you know, I remember when Mila Kunis first started promoting the Magnum ice cream bar.
Stop. I remember those commercials. That's so good.
Fuck is this called Magnum? We all associate Magnum with a giant penis. Like, that is literally what a Magnum condom, you know, is meant to represent. It's a unique color wrapper. It's a thing we associate. So then why was this gold colored ice cream bar? They wanted us to associate it with excess, decadence. And there's something to be said. Yeah, there's something to be said about kind of the programming that we associate with naming things. And we do have a sort of penchant for associating that name. Drag Me to Dinner is called Drag Me to Dinner, not just because it's a drag show and a dinner show, but there's kind of a being forced to do it playfulness. There's a humor to the you're being dragged along for this. You know, there's with Splatoon, the idea that the communal gameplay is a huge part of it, but it's Splatoon. It's not your squad. It's not your team. It's a platoon. It's many, many people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's something to be said about how we recognize the patterning on these things that goes a really, really long way from programming by name. The Switch told you had to change what you expected from day one. The Wii U told you it was just the next version of the thing you already owned if you really needed it. And the fact that it was so visually different, that the screen was built into the controller, made it, oh, well, that's what's different. And it didn't help that many of the games just looked like better versions of the games that were available on the Wii. I remember really wanting a Wii U. I had an incredible person in my life named Chad, who is the second, third, maybe fourth biggest Zelda fan I know, not because the quality of his Zelda fandom ever wavered, but rather I met people who dedicated their whole lives to Zelda. Hey, handsome. And you know, he had a Wii U, and he spoke volumes about the quality of the system. But the thing that stopped me was, where was the Super Mario Galaxy? Where was the thing? Because that's what I think Splatoon offers me. A Super Mario Galaxy-esque take on what I expected, I guess, the Muppet Baby communal esport to be. And I say that because, like, my problem with perhaps the nature of esports is I love weightlifting because leave me the fuck alone. I love just putting two plates on each side and seeing how long it takes me to think I might die. Like, I'm not like, oh, I put two plates on there and I busted out like a motherfucker for 3 hours. No, I think I'll die, thank you. and it's just fine. My strength exists in solo sports, and that's one of the things that I think Splatoon offers. It is that beautiful middle ground between solo sport and communal sport, where I am often challenged and kind of fearful of communal esport.
You can always be kind of playing by yourself, even if you are literally playing with other people.
And I think one of the things that kind of goes without saying sometimes is like we all sort of monologue on this show. And the reason I always want to say that for a second is because like every now and then I kind of feel like I might be on my soapbox on this show. And then I remember perhaps, just perhaps, your virtual show is actually the thing that is your soapbox. And if there is a place that I get to be super preachy, it's actually on this program and on this program alone. Because like any other time I'm talking, it's supposed to be to my friends who are supposed to have the opportunity to reply. But I essentially said just because one of the things that I think is really important is to remember that, when we're talking about what we feel about something, like next week, not to hype it again, but Kevo has an incredible episode prepared for us that I am so excited to be part of. The upcoming Doctor Who Shortcuts episode is going to be so cool. And one of the things about it that's really amazing is you might not agree. I might not agree. TK might not agree. Is Kevo by far the biggest Whovian of us? Sure. So does his opinion maybe have like 2% more weight? Of course. But does that mean that our opinions have no value? Certainly not. And that's sort of the nature of what these shows are about. I was talking with incredible, brilliant contributor Tori Sheehan earlier today about what we might do with the show, and she suggested some really beautiful topics, but they waded into some areas that I don't know that I was ready to fully step into. And I said, you know what, Tori, I love these ideas you're suggesting, but I just don't know that I'm ready to step into them. And she was like, I love that. Thank you for telling me that that's not a place I should spend my energy, because that's what these shows are for. A good friend of mine recently said, wow, you guys are just covering everything lately. And like, I maybe 2% wanted to slap him in the face, but like, I mostly wanted to be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Part of me was like, damn, you kind of feel like you're coming for me, but mostly we're talking about the things that make us happy, and no person is a wiki subheading, you know what I mean? So the things we love are going to be pretty varied. It was so important to me that we talk about the Tori Amos episode that we talk about, and it's TK's fault that this is just him running around the map and giving me a chance to monologue.
I'm waiting for you to let me explain what I'm doing.
Oh, at some point. The Tory community, actually, like members of the Tory community that like give me like Tory file boners, messaged me to be like, I loved your video. That was why I made that video, because I wanted to make something for the Tory community. As I literally cry at the 2-hour mark. The Tory community took care of me when I was a scared little kid. I had a friend named Joey. I think his name was Tory's Winter, an AIM at the time. And he was like, I'm 24, you're 15, and you're basically begging to send me nudes. You got to get it together, kid. But what I want you to know is you're just doing what we all did, and you're beautiful, and we're going to take care of you, and we're going to stop you from hurting yourself. And like, the Tory community took care of me, and like, I wanted to give something back. And so sometimes when we do these episodes and you're kind of like, why are you doing a video on Theater Rhythm? Which, by the way, I make a joke in 2 months ago that it's at like 18 views. It's like septupled now. Thank you all. But we made this because Splatoon was there for TK when TK needed something. And Splatoon has come to mean something to me. And I spent hours working on this piece of music this week. And we're just doing everything, aren't we? Because some things deserve it.
And I think something about it for me too is, X is for show. What does the X stand for? I've been thinking about that a lot because I need to make us a commercial for another show that I work on. that we're going to start having a commercial on. And I keep thinking of this concept of, it's what a lot of our episode covers say.
It's the
X is
variable.
for Tori Amos. X is for Deadpool. Maybe we're wilding out a little bit, but I feel like so many channels are only one thing, whereas so many people are multitudes. And we are more a multitude than being 55,000 videos about Harry Potter. How do people keep finding? We just have so much to say about so many things. How could we only limit ourselves to one thing?
It's something that I've always really Evelyn. I didn't know if she's a common canary or Evelyn, but she does really publicly go by Evelyn. She and her family have a lifelong dedication to the Tolkien kind of like oeuvre. And one of the reasons I think that's so great is because she's found things to talk about her whole life, about a series of books that were initially read to her and then she read. And she shares that love with not just her family, but the internet and the world. And you would think that after a period of time, you'd have lost the focus to talk about that, but she finds deeper things to talk about. I'll be honest, I have had 1 trillion thousand billion conversations about Tori Amos with these two guys. And yet we still found new things that we had never discussed before. All right. Enough kind of like fan wanking about the greatest woman in the world. I mean, third greatest woman in the world after all of our moms. A fourth greatest, eighth greatest.
I'm gonna listen. You're
Take
gonna
over.
never stop monologuing if I
Yeah.
don't stop you. So
Stop me.
I just do want to show everybody real quick. I have moved from the start of the game in Splatsville over to Inkopolis Square. In the middle of the Splatfest, you have your pop idols singing for you. They do original songs for the Splatfest. This entire area is decorated and looks different than it normally does during the game. Nico, I don't know if you've seen this before because you just got the DLC, but one of the things they added is being able to go to Inkopolis. And
Yeah, no,
and yeah, I mean, so now every Splatfest we get 2 songs. We get the song from Deep Cut over in Splatsville, and we get the song from the Squid Sisters.
Pause. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Kevo, how is your pizza?
It's real good. I probably didn't let it heat up long enough, but it's still pretty warm.
I made myself a bacon cheddar vodka sauce pizza. Mozzarella and rotisserie chicken pizza. And it's really excited to cook. Food is a huge part of who we are. That is maybe the one thing. TK, talk to me about a Splatoon cookbook.
Ooh.
Oh man! So actually, there is a food element to Splatoon.
Is there
I
really?
Yeah.
feel like we should start eating on air more. We'll probably get more hits.
Oh my
yes,
god!
mukbang videos.
You guys have
videos,
never
yes.
seen anything until you've seen how much food I can put in my mouth at one time.
So you can buff yourself in terms of how much cash you get and how much experience you get by ordering food.
Oh, that's true. You're really right. Yeah.
This is the crab trap sandwich. It's not clear if they're cannibalizing or not. I mean, I guess they kind of are. But there's also a drink stand in which you can get these weird Capri Sun-esque bags of stuff that lets you power up your gear a little bit. That's kind of a longer conversation to explain how that goes. I also want to show off the gacha machine here. One of the things I love most about Splatfests is you get these things called conch shells, which lets you get a free turn at the gacha machine. And those give you things like food tickets. But Meatball, I also wanted to show you, because I was talking to you about this yesterday. When you are in the game, I need you to, before we start playing, go to this machine right here in the lobby, right next to the little start your game thing.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to go here and edit your splash tag. because you are still on the original default splash tag, and I know now you have so much stuff, and you deserve the beautiful customizability of picking a really great banner.
Hell yeah.
I don't want to disappoint you, but I've changed back to that splash tag.
Why?
I don't like the other ones I had at the time.
Oh, okay. Well, so that's why we got to get you playing so that you can get more turns in the gotcha machine, because one of the things it gives you is banners.
I actually go to change mine by I hit plus.
Yeah.
And then no, I'm sorry. I hit X.
Yeah.
And then go to status.
Yeah. Yes. You can also do it that way.
Yeah, you can.
You also get a title for your splash tag, and I'm currently going with Hungry Hungry Queen, because it's true.
Because you are. I love Fireball so much.
Yes. Meatball,
Yeah,
are you ready to get invited, or do you need a little?
I've been sitting here ready the whole time, feeling unwanted. Hold on, I'm editing my splash tag per your demands.
So you're not ready.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, I really only have a handful of really ugly ones. It's so disappointing. Here's the problem. It's really funny because it's why I think early on in any process, teachers really understand my willingness to learn. I'm all in when I'm in. I really do want to be part of the experience, but I might sometimes have a little bit of a learning curve. So even though I've played so many times, I really do have a little bit of experience lag on my expertise when it comes to this game. A little bit as a result of coming to video game play really late in life. I got a Nintendo when I was like 10, and pretty much every foundational sexual memory I have of an older gentleman is like me 13 and 18-year-old with chest hair playing video games in front of me. And they all wanted to play Super Mario 3, and that is why I speedrun that game. The thrill of how fast can you go? So I really didn't come to video games till much later. There was a guy, and as much it's such a shame that I tell the story is there was a guy, because that's really not a fair way to tell it. There was a guy, but the guy's best friend was like, always, why are you with him? You're amazing, and I love him, but he's dragging you down, and you should borrow my
really
games.
A Kelly Rowland song waiting.
Actually, yes. Her name was Caitlin, and Caitlin was like, I love that you love him, and I love that you want to be with him, but borrow my games, play these things instead. And like, there's a game series that I actually love just as much as I love Final Fantasy, but we don't talk about it much because there's not a lot of games in it. And the game is called Shadow Hearts. It's called Kudelka, and I love that game franchise as much as I love Final Fantasy. And Caitlin was the one who was like, you need to play this. This means everything to me. And she was the first person who was like, I don't know, you act like you have no idea of what strategy is, but you have your own unique strategies. And she was like the first person to really encourage me. And I, at one point, wasn't going to go to college. And she was like, that's the dumbest sentence I've ever heard in my life. You're an idiot. Go to college. Stop being a fucking loser. And she bullied me into going to college when she herself didn't for many years after that.
Wait, so Meatball, first off, I like your new splash tag banner.
Thank you. I evidently had this one, so I just switched to it to just switch it. See, because I know sometimes in a lot of games like Splatoon, just the act of doing a thing can trigger new bonuses.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes something like just switching your splash tag for a couple of hours can give you you switched to splash tag bonus.
One of the other reasons I suggested doing it is because it indicates to players that like you are not so new. Oh.
I'm going to learn to never do that again. I got frustrated at the game and said a word that was uncute.
That's okay. Wait. Oh gosh, what is happening right now? I'm losing signal on my.
You were saying it to yourself.
I was saying it at myself. I was quite annoyed at myself for doing something obvious and silly.
There we go. Oh no, what is happening? Huh. Oh, this might get cut short because I am my HD card seems to be not living on me.
Oh no. It's me. Why?
Oh no, actually, I got a communication error.
Oh, it could be a communication error. Did we just die from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Give
says-
me 1 second. I want to try one thing.
Well,
And
I'm probably
then-
gonna jump off just to make the life a little easier on bandwidth on this end.
Okay. Well then, we'll call it here.
Yeah, we're moving to the end of the broadcast time, and
Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone so much for such a great episode. One of the things that I love about our show is that we cover a million things, and we learn really important lessons about self-censor that we will never forget. And no, but really, I really do love this game. It's something that's really exciting because I came to it really late. I never thought esports would be for me. I never thought I'd be talented enough to participate in them. And that's what's really exciting about Splatoon. It's not that Splatoon is Babytown easy. It's that Splatoon has room for every level of experience, every level of excellence, every place you might be in your gameplay experience life. And that's something that I, as even a 37-year-old who's been playing video games but didn't play them seriously, I didn't really have a better system till I was in my late teens, like I was saying. So it means that I didn't understand how to play PS2 games till there were PS3 games, kind of sort of, not really, but kind of sort of. And then I didn't know how to play PS3 games till there were PS4 games. And I don't think that necessarily the games get iteratively harder, but they get more visually complex and more visually dynamic and more battle system dynamic. And that's where I think I kind of fell behind the curve a little bit. And so I genuinely am grateful to Splatoon for giving me an avenue into what is the most successful branch of sport commerce in the world that I wouldn't have if it weren't for Splatoon understanding that there are people like me who don't need it babied, who need it made level accessible. And I think it's a really beautiful thing that Nintendo does by understanding that market exists.
Yeah, I maybe wish that they cared a little more about the competitive online esport community and that they wanted to participate in this world that is growing up around them, that loves their game and wants to play it the way we see basketball and football being played,
Yeah.
that we play, other, like League of Legends. I wish we were seeing a little bit more of that, but in the meantime, I stand by the community that is doing that for themselves, and I still love this game and this intellectual property, and I love the music so much. Oh, I love the music so much. If you take one thing away from this broadcast, go Google "Seep and Destroy," like water is seeping. "Seep and Destroy" from the Splatoon 3 soundtrack. It is the greatest song of 2022/2023. It is the summer jam you've been waiting for. You will not regret it, and you will thank me.
And Kevo, I want to thank you. That was that thing I was saying earlier this episode. It's never that you're not willing to participate. No, the fact that you're here and we cover these things is pure proof that you are encouraging of our participation. The thing that I want to say is that you always find something to participate about, and that's a celebration of how you're cool. And so, was there anything you liked about Splatoon from hearing it that you maybe didn't know before this episode?
I really appreciate the thought and attention to detail and work that has gone into the world building. It's not necessarily something that grabs me to pull me in. A lot of what I already appreciated about the game, I mostly understood. There are some things about the gameplay, like when Teak was doing the live stream game where I got to know like the map and everything. I thought that that stuff was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I just think it's a really fun and interesting game, and something I really love about it is that it is aggressive without being violent. And that is something that makes it so accessible to all ages, that it can be for kids or for adults in that regard, because, you know, it's not a shooter. You know, we were
Yeah.
annoyed by the fact that they have to use guns, but it's in a ray gun capacity. It's not in a violent, like, a gun is just a projectile weapon, a type of projectile weapon. That's it, and we can't help that. It's really just a delivery system. And so I really like that about it.
Well, and I'll say this, Kevo, if you ever do start getting into it, this is, there's two things that I'm trying to get you into through the wikiization of those things. It's Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, which you truly can have your own reading and experience of the Cosmere through the Coppermind, the dedicated Brandon Sanderson Cosmere wiki. Which just has such incredible wealth of knowledge. And honestly, the Inkypedia, the Splatoon wiki, because all of that lore is there. Like everything that I was talking about with those bands that have like their entire history, that is all totally wikiable. So if you are ever in the need for a wiki hole, that is one I highly recommend.
Always
I love that. TK, what was your favorite thing to share with us?
The music. I could talk about Splatoon music all day long.
I love that, and I loved working on it today. Now, Kevo, where can everybody find you in this amazing interwebs of inkity goodness and octo perfection?
You can find me at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALLY. Where can whoever wants to go first?
TK, always.
You can find me at TK Elemental. And Nico, where can everybody find you?
You can find me rollering, splatting, and all kinds of respawning in my gas mask over at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. We have an amazing episode for you guys tomorrow. As always, it's going to be a Sunday full of TV goodness. We're adding Secret Chef, which Kevo was amazing enough to put on the board already. This guy's a genius. This show actually was incredible. We watched the first episode as a family. Kevo and I have kept watching a few episodes together on our own. It's been really exciting. It's a really interesting concept. It's challenging. We got a few more things to watch before tomorrow, but I do just want to say, just so everybody understands, as a member of WGA East and as somebody who is so grateful to SAG-AFTRA for striking alongside us, thank you. I have been saying every Sunday that we are striking for the last 3 weeks, and I'm going to continue saying it every week. That's my job, right? And beyond that, I want to say, just so everybody understands, the nature of the way the strike works is I am not able to make or promote things I've made. So I actually don't think it extends to my comic work, but I'm going to spend a couple of weeks not mentioning so much the published by a major publisher comic work, but rather point you guys to kidriotcomics.com, where you can check out all sorts of independently published comics. I can also talk about any of the programs on this board, as I am not associated with or financially reimbursed by the owners of these things. And so there is nothing that prohibits me as a member of my union or guild from promoting these things as they exist. These things need their fans to continue promoting them so that the networks see how vital they are and how it is necessary to understand what these networks are looking for. So these creators, the networks need to hear them. That said, it's a tough fucking battle right now, guys. And I made fun of it a couple times, but I am part of a generation of people who tried to reclaim a word, and so I really do apologize if my use of that word offended anyone. Not chill. So, or legit, not chill. But anyway, all said and done, I'm excited to cover more Crime Scene Kitchen, which I loved something in this week's episode so good. And anyway, we're going to see you tomorrow. So until then, stay strong, be brave, evolve daily, stay as cool as these two guys, and try and stay out of the heat because that's challenging how cool they are for sure. And we'll see you.
Evolve into a squid person daily.
Get splat.
This episode was brought to you by Squid Based Things. For all your squid needs, squid.